Sonic the Hedgehog runs, jumps, moves, and spins at supersonic speed. And now, he's loose. He's a burst of speed, a dash of fun, a mischievous streak. He's everywhere. Because now...
Hello everybody, we're gonna pause that for now and go to our full screen. Hey everybody, this is a stream I've been looking forward to for a long time. Today we're playing Super Mario Land on Game Boy and Sonic the Hedgehog on Game Gear. This Sonic the Hedgehog cartridge right here actually happens to be my own childhood copy, which I'm very glad to be able to still own. This little contraption it's in is the adapter, so it can be played on the analog pocket system. This is how I'm going to be playing both of the games today. These two games, Sonic and Mario, Sonic, specifically the handheld version, Sonic the Hedgehog on Game Gear in 91, then later Super Mario Land on me. I did not encounter this till 95 when I got my Game Boy from my dear aunt. These two games, along with, say, Pokemon and Mario 64, probably influenced my gaming tastes and my imagination of my life in general, probably more so than any other games. And I'm really happy to be, since I could play both Game Boy and Game Gear games with this unit, I'll be able to easily swap between them without having to do anything like, have to change out wires or get another console or something like that. So it makes it very simple to do. Now, if anyone is particularly interested in playing these games for yourselves, there is always, the original cartridges, whether you're playing it on an original Game Boy, Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color, up to Game Boy Advance SP can all play these original Game Boy games, and only Game Gear can play the original Game Gear, but there are other solutions like the Analog Pocket, which is what I'm using. And if you don't care about playing games off the original cartridges, you do not need a fancy piece of thing like the Analog Pocket. Any way you get your hands on the games as long is fine. As far as the Game Gear games can also be played on the Analog Mega SG, which plays old Sega cartridges, though you will need an adapter to play it on the Mega SG. My first game that I ever played on stream was Sonic the Hedgehog on Game Gear back in 2020, and I was glad to be able to use my original copy. And Sinful Darks is saying you'll be right back, give you a few minutes. Alright. Well, I'm just going through some introductory stuff right now. Unlike Sonic, we're not in a huge hurry. Because, this copy of this game has been running since 1991, so I think it'll hold on for a few more minutes. Now, if you're interested, another way you could play this game that's going to go away as an option very soon is the Wii U and Nintendo 3DS Virtual Consoles. This is my new Nintendo 3DS here. Actually, no, excuse me. It's not on the Wii U Virtual Console. What am I talking about? But both the Wii U and 3DS Virtual Consoles are shutting down in March 2023. Now, both Super Mario Land and Sonic the Hedgehog are both available on the Nintendo 3DS through the Virtual Console service on the Nintendo eShop. I just want to show off, let's see. Yeah, so Sonic and Mario Land, I know it's blocking my face here. Here's the copies that we'll be playing with today. And now this is, if I'd been thinking ahead, I would have used the box art to show this off, because the box arts make this a bit more obvious, but I found it interesting. I only noticed this a few days ago, how similar the layouts are for both Super Mario Land and the Game Gear version of Sonic the Hedgehog. Because in both, you have the main character with the running to the right and into the foreground, as enemies chase him in the background, and the main villain of the game, Tatanga in Super Mario Land and Dr. Robotnik in Sonic the Hedgehog, are flying in the background on an airship. And I just found it interesting how both of these ads, both of these cartridge arts and box arts had similar sort of layouts in terms of how they compose this art. I don't think they're influenced by each other, but now I want to also show off. Now this print ad here, this should show up in a second. Come on, there we go. Yeah, this print ad for Sonic the Hedgehog. This is a bit of a lie. For some reason, the Sonic the Hedgehog for Game Gear is a fantastic version of the game. Not just a watered-down port of the Genesis game. but they lied on this magazine ad by showing a screenshot of what is clearly the Genesis version of the game running on the Game Gear. And it's kind of unfortunate. It's like, come on, have a little more confidence in your game. You don't have to lie. The actual version that we're going to play is more than impressive enough for 1991. That's for sure. Now, what I want to do... Okay, I want to just get... Yeah, I want to restart the system real quick. Alright, we're just going to drop that in its dock, and the dock is what connects that handheld unit to my capture card. But I want to show off the commercials for both of these games. Now, I want to give a little... This is about... I'm not just, pitting Game Boy versus Game Gear. I'm also kind of reliving my childhood a bit here. And we're actually going to be playing Sonic the Hedgehog first. Because Sonic the Hedgehog is... I played that in 91, when my parents got that for me, and I did not get Game Boy till 94, 95. So it was at the time it was like a lifetime later, but in hindsight it's only a few years later. Now I want to talk a bit about my background with video games. I knew there was the Nintendo Entertainment System. I remember seeing ads for The Legend of Zelda, and I remember, your parents help you hook it up. That tagline they put on the end of the commercials for the NES. So I knew there was, video games were some sort of computerized toy that connected to the television. I knew of Nintendo. I really didn't care that much. And I was aware, video games, yeah, whatever. Now, I did have, a Mattel Electronics Football 2 system. A little, hand-me-down from the 70s or early... No, I think it was from the late 70s, actually, the Football 2 unit. That came from my cousin. But I wasn't really into video games, so Sonic the Hedgehog was my first proper video game. And it was one morning, I was watching cartoons. It must have been a Saturday morning in my childhood home in Far Rockaway. And this commercial came on that you see the opening screenshot of right here. There was a series of commercials, Humans Against Genesis, or HAG. And he had this, how should I put this? This sort of disagreeable, crotchety woman complaining about Sega Genesis and how cool the games were. And so you have Humans Against Genesis, and the idea is Sega was playing to the bad boy appeal of Sega over Nintendo. Their games were more sophisticated, especially before this launch of the Super Nintendo. More edgier games, more edgier characters, faster, higher speeds, fiercer challenges, and the old folks can't stand the attitude and the sort of independence of Sega as compared to this is a female actress. Yeah, you'll see. We're gonna run the ad in a second, but it's kind of funny because if you think of this on a meta level, Humans Against Genesis, HAG. She just happens to have a portrait of Sonic the Hedgehog sitting there. Just happens to have the Sega Genesis on display with its gamepad there. Presumably, she confiscated it from one of her Sunday school students or something like that. But this character, she's literally a double agent. She's literally talking about how much she hates Genesis as part of a plot to get people to like Genesis and be interested in it. And I was a mild-mannered kid. I was well-behaved. I didn't care about video games much. I didn't even know what Sega or Sonic was. I knew about Nintendo. I think I might have known about stories from my parents about the Pac-Man craze of the early 80s. But this commercial, when I saw this commercial, I ran straight into my parents' bedroom and told my mom about Sonic the Hedgehog and Sega. And I didn't even ask for Genesis. I didn't even think of, or Sega. I didn't even think of getting one of these for myself. And also, I was an actor when I was a child, and I was in waiting rooms with other kids waiting to do auditions, and other kids would have Game Boy, and I didn't really, and those little Tiger games didn't really attract my attention much. But this got my attention, and let's run the commercial, and then I'll run it back again and comment on it.
Danita Stokes, president of HAG.
It's bad enough that Sega Genesis has the most 16-bit games, but this new Sonic the Hedgehog, oh, he really does my doilies. They say he's incredibly fast. Well, what's the hurry, mister? And about his attitude. Smarty pants. Why can't it be more like that nice boy Mario? Oh! Little brat!
Now, get Sonic free when you buy a Sega Genesis system at its new price of $149.99.
All right, now let's go through. Let's comment.
Danita Stokes, president of HAG.
It's bad enough that Sega...
I'd love to find out who this actress was. So finding out a talent for commercials can be hard sometimes because these are often like uncredited roles. But this performance right here, this sold me. This is the performance that made me a gamer. This is the performance that made me not care about video games at all to being interested in Sonic.
Stokes, president of HAG.
It's bad enough.
Look at the animated Sonic on the portrait, sneering at her.
Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh, he really duffs my doilies.
Duffs my doilies.
Well, what's the hurry, mister? And about his attitude.
Now, look, that's an interesting choice.
And about his attitude. Well, what's
Listen.
the hurry, mister? And about his attitude.
Why did they play extra life sound effect? There was no reason to do that, but it made the commercial more interesting.
Hey, mister. And about his attitude. Smarty pants.
I don't know. I have this very distinct memory. When she called Sonic a smarty pants, for some reason that got my attention. And oh, he's a smarty pants. Like, is he like sort of a wisecracking kind of character, like Bugs Bunny? So.
Why can't it be more like that nice boy Mario?
Of course, gotta have the Mario diss in there, because this is cutthroat. I mean, Sega was the underdog in this era. Nintendo was they were fully entrenched. They had a lot of third-party developers under their foot, sort of tied up with their exploitative contracts for exclusivity on Nintendo Entertainment System, and Sega of America was not as well funded as Nintendo of America, from what I understand. They sort of had to make more tactical use of their advertising dollars. But yeah, why can't he be like that nice boy Mario? Like, that didn't mean anything to me. I knew of Mario. I knew of the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. I never watched it. I didn't care. So. Little brat. Yeah, I love it.
Sonic free when you buy a Sega Genesis system.
Okay, hold on. I got to do a little math here. Hold on. Inflation calculator. I want to do, what is that? That's we have to rewind a bit.
Sega Genesis system at its new price of $149.99.
Let's punch in 150. If in the year 1991 I had 150 US dollars. Okay, so in 2023 currency rates, that 150 for a Genesis would come out to $322.31, and that was after a price drop. So yeah, then they dropped the price of Genesis and included a free game, the hottest game they had, because they engineered Sonic the Hedgehog to be the Mario competitor and elevate the Sega Genesis. So they're like, all right, we're giving away our best game for free. Let's do it. Like, it's not about making money. It's not about money. It's about sending a message. It's the Joker would have said in the Dark Knight. So, all right. So now this next commercial I'm gonna run. This is specifically for the Game Gear version of the game. I don't remember this commercial. I remember seeing kids in like waiting rooms and stuff like that who had Game Boy and Game Gear, and I didn't care that much. I don't remember, like, even when I was excited about this commercial, I didn't ask my parents for it. I didn't even think of this being something I could actually play or partake in myself. I was just like, oh wow, this character in video games and Sega.
Sonic the Hedgehog runs, jumps, moves, and spins at supersonic speed. And now, he's loose. He's a burst of speed, a dash of fun, a mischievous streak. He's everywhere. Because now, he's on Game Gear. And best of all, Sonic's free when you buy Game Gear. But hurry, he's moving fast. Sonic the Hedgehog from Sega.
Now, I want to give them props here. What is running on that screen, that is very clearly Labyrinth Zone. And what a lot of games will do in commercials is that they will only really show the first level because that's the only thing they feel like playing through to get footage of. But in all these commercials, they play a lot of stages from all different parts of the game on Game Gear, which is great. Now, I want to rewind a little bit and call out something else. Hold on.
But hurry, he's moving fast. Sonic's free when you buy Game Gear. But hurry.
But notice how they show the scene, one of the scenes they choose is Sonic rolling down the ramp and launching up. They did not have the iconic Sonic loop-de-loops in Sonic 1. I guess they didn't quite feel confident in trying to attempt that on the 8-bit system. Later Sonic sequels on Game Gear would have loop-de-loops. Instead, they replaced the loop-de-loops with a few ramps that are only in a couple of stages in the game. But they launched Sonic so high up and so fast, it gives that same sense of speed that those loop-de-loops and those sort of tube sections did in Green Hill Zone on Genesis. So there was a good choice to show him launching. But I do want to show
and Game Gear.
What's going on here.
And best of gear. And best of all. And best of all.
And best of all. You know what I'm pointing at? Well, first off, you can tell that behind that system that it might actually be on a pole or something to keep it absolutely still, because the system has to be perfectly still for them to track the gameplay footage onto later. But second, now look at his fingers.
And best of all. And best of all. Sonic's. And best of all.
Why is his thumb going between the 1 and 2 buttons? There's no, and during normal, if you're actually playing this game, there's the 1 and 2 button do the same thing. So he's clearly just acting. I mean, the actor is doing exactly what the director told them, which looks more exciting for a couple of seconds of footage. But when you're looking at it as a player 30 years later, it's like, okay, why is he pressing 1 and 2 separately when they both do the same thing?
And best of all, Sonic's free.
Now, it's cool they got some footage from Scrap Brain Zone here. Launching off the ramp. Good choices of footage here. Alright. And I think it's about time to get to the game itself. Now, for those who maybe have just joined us, we are playing off my childhood copy of the game right here. And for the first time, I'll be playing this with the Switch Pro controller. This might be a bit of growing. I didn't do much testing. I know the controller works, but I never actually went through. And I'm going to tell you the story of how I actually got it. I never asked my parents for it. I didn't think I was going to get it. It wasn't for Christmas or my birthday. It was actually the first day at my family friend's house. Let's call her my aunt, because that's what I kind of thought of her as, like an aunt, over in Coney Island. And she was going to braid my hair for the first time. I was really excited because I asked my parents to braid my hair. I wanted locks like my uncle had, because I was, a little autistic kid who hated getting haircuts. I'm like, oh, you could just not cut your hair, because my uncle had the locks. And so they took me over to my aunt's house in Coney Island, and both my parents are there. I'm sitting in the chair, and my aunt's doing my hair, and my father hands me the cartridge. And I was like, okay, Sonic the Hedgehog, I know this is a game, but like, where's the screen at? Like, I had a sense of what was going on. Then he handed me the system, and I was like, oh, okay. I put the cartridge in, turn it on, and what do I hear? I was like, wow, it talks. Oh, man. And so it begins. Now, I will not be simulating my first attempt at playing this. I'm just going to be playing it with my current skills as an adult gamer. But yeah, this, and that map there, you'll note, if you've seen the Sonic the Hedgehog 2020 film with Jim Carrey and James Marsden, I forgot his last name. I know his last name is Schwartz, who actually voiced Sonic himself. That was, the depiction of Sonic's island from his home planet was actually based on the map screen of this version of the game. Because this is the earliest in-game depiction of what Sonic's world is supposed to look like in terms of an overview outside of the stage themselves. Now, what I'm going to try to... Now, this is the only Speed Shoes icon in the entire game. I guess there was no place else they felt confident trying to throw in all those... Now, I'm going to go in the tree here and get the one up. Alright, now there is, down below, there we go, we got our 50 rings. Actually, why don't I go ahead and start the game? Forgot to start the game recording because I'm recording the footage of this separately in case I want to use it for other stuff. Oh man, all these challenges. This is such a touch and go thing. It was just so exciting, but I was progressing the game very slowly, and I didn't know it. I didn't realize at first how you earned access to the bonus stages, but you have to have between 50 and 99 rings. If you get more than 99 rings, that you will roll over back to 0. You will earn extra life, but you'll roll over back to 0, so you will not be able to then access the special stage. Now, the special stage, especially being a kid playing video games for the first time, was incredibly important because the special stage was your opportunity to earn continues. Because I got that game over screen a lot, especially being a little kid, my first time playing games. So you definitely want to stick around, collect all 100, your 100 rings to get a 1-up. And we got all our goodies. Now, the Master System version of these bonus stages are much more challenging. You notice all the springs were purple. Because the springs are purple, there's a mechanic that's only present in the Master System version where springs of different colors will actually have different strengths of how high they will bounce up Sonic. Purple springs are the least powerful, but in the Master System version of those bonus screens, you'll find that some bounce some higher, some lower. It's much more challenging. Now check this out. Here you see a caution sign because there's an invisible floor here. Now on one hand, it's very interesting. It's like, okay, why? Well, in the Master System version, there's no warning screen telling you that there's like a hazard up ahead. But on the Game Gear, they decided to add a... Oh my goodness, I lost my shield there. That is not something I typically have happen to me. Now, I've never beaten this game in a perfect run without taking a single death before. I got all the way to the final boss and died once. I've spent whole streams trying to do a perfect single credit run. That being said, it's not since the first time I played this game on stream have I actually gotten to a game over. Now, one thing we want to make sure to do is to come back down here. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! What is going on? What is going... Okay, there we go. Yep, we gotta grab that Chaos Emerald. Because in this game, the Chaos Emeralds are hidden within the stages themselves. They're not hidden in the bonus stages. And getting all the Chaos Emeralds in this Game Gear version of Sonic actually, I believe, has a much better reward for your true happy ending than the Genesis version. And it's an ending that plays much better into, I think, the themes of Sonic the Hedgehog, especially like the first game. The idea of, hey, Serial Wars, how you doing? Yep, we're Game Boy versus Game Gear this stream. Yeah, I've got my Analog Pocket out. I've got my cartridge of Sonic, of Super Mario Land ready to go. And you missed it. We were checking out the commercials for Sonic the Hedgehog, and I'm telling the story of how I saw that first commercial for Sonic with Danita Stokes, or whatever the character's name is, president of HAG, Humans Against Genesis. And how I really didn't care about video games. I knew of Nintendo, and there were handheld games. I knew of the NES. And yeah, in the third acts of these stages on Game Gear, you will find that... Do you think Nintendo will do reproduction cartridges? Absolutely. Well, they'll be up on the VOD. Yeah, don't worry about it. They'll be up on the VOD. Do I think Nintendo will do reproduction cartridges? Nintendo will do reproduction cartridges, yeah, never. That will never happen. The heat death of the universe will come before Nintendo creates officially licensed reproduction cartridges. In fact, a lot of people were shocked that they even did a mini console of the NES and Super NES. Like when they announced the NES Classic Edition, I never thought they'd do that. Like Nintendo was just like too proud of themselves to actually go dedicate to doing a mini console, making mini reproduction cartridges to play on obsolete hardware. No, they do not want that. They want you to pay for Nintendo Switch Online to have access to those games. It would be fantastic if they did, because other companies have gone back and done officially authorized reproduction cartridges. Yep, so that right there would have been my first ever boss in a video game. Yeah, the reason we're doing Sonic first is because that's what I played first back in the day, because I got my Game Gear in '91. And, oh, by the way, we're going to be doing the same routine. Well, after this, after Sonic, we're going to be doing reading a couple of magazines with period coverage of Sonic on Game Gear. Then we're going to analyze the commercials, the original commercials for Game Boy and Super Mario Land. And then we'll play through Super Mario Land. And then read period coverage, and I'll tell my personal story and my history of Super Mario Land. But we're also going to read period vintage magazines covering Super Mario Land and Game Boy. Zero Rose is asking, do you ever like to use multiple keyboards simultaneously? I've never had a need to use multiple keyboards. It's funny, the only keyboards I have like one keyboard from WASD, which is really, I guess, it's a mechanical keyboard brand that's really aimed more towards gamers. But I don't play hardcore PC games. I really got that keyboard because I'm a writer, and I like to have a good keyboard to write on. Now, it was nice when I did do Commander Keen, which is another series I need to get back to, and DOS gaming in general. And then the other keyboard I have is like a $5 or $10 keyboard I got from a drugstore like Rite Aid or something, or Walgreens. That was like gamer keyboard, and basically what it was literally the dollar store version of the really nice, like, several $100 keyboard, custom keyboard I got from WASD with its mechanical switches. Zero War saying you're a multi-key user. You know, one thing I'm considering, there may be a point where I have certain elements of the stream. Now there's the second Chaos Emerald. To collect that, you've got to take a risk and let this bridge segment fall and jump up with perfect timing to collect it. Where I've considered, hey, there might be, I already have a Stream Deck, which, by the way, you do not need to start streaming. I did not get a Stream Deck till like almost 2 years after I started streaming. Like, absolutely do not need it. Now, I have it, and it's really useful. And I will argue that only within the last 2 or 3 weeks have I really started using it to its full potential. Aside from just having, just a shortcuts to a couple of scenes. Now I have a whole bunch of things I can do with the Stream Deck. But you do not need that to start streaming. And if you can set up different programs you use with hotkeys, you can just get a standalone USB number pad keyboard. You can get a keyboard that's just the number pad. And there's certain elements of things I may do with my stream in the future where I was either thinking of using foot pedals or getting either potentially a larger Stream Deck with more buttons on it, but that's not really I'd probably sooner get foot pedals or just a standalone numerical keypad that I could plug in with USB and just have set up so that I could do the things I want to do with it. Oh no! Okay. Oh my goodness. Just give me a few rings. I am 2 rings away. Okay, there we go. Now we can get out of here. Because what they'll lure you into is trying to collect as many rings as possible, and you end up running out of time and not getting to keep the rings. For your point total for the end of the special stage. So what do you use do you use the multiple keyboards? Are they both full WASD numerical letter keyboards? Alphanumeric keyboards, I guess? Or are they like specialized keyboards with certain things on them? Because, like, I have what's considered a gamer keyboard, but it's not one of those. It really is just a alphanumeric keypad without a number pad on the side. Yeah, it's not anything super crazy that you never, that looks like, it's not the kind of thing that has the WASD highlighted. Well, I mean, I could have had a WASD be a different color if I so chose, I just didn't want that. Yeah, my keyboard's interesting, I don't have a picture of it handy. Oh, and by the way, just mentioning, I have brought back a lot of redeems. There are certain redeems that... Well, there's one redeem I meant to bring back on my Wednesday stream. My Wednesday streams being High Score Storytime, and my next stream coming on this Tuesday will be Watch Along Tuesday, which is one you will not want to miss. But for streams where I'm watching or like I'm doing watch party or watch along type stuff, one of the main redeems I've introduced isn't really especially ideal for it. But for longer gameplay streams, it's something that's I think is more usable. And there are other channel point redeems I'll be introducing in the future as well. There are a lot of things I want to change. I had some ideas today about changing out, just drawing more attention to my chat command system, and using that to simplify my my rules, because my rules are really just basic, like, don't be a butthole rules, or stuff that's just part of Twitch TOS anyway. But it's really kind of a big wall of text, and I want to simplify it. I want to have access to, like, hey, if you type in, command rules, you can see the full list of rules. But, for people coming in, just saying, like, hey, just, be good to each other. Use the chat, pay attention to the chat commands in my ticker. Because I do have those tickers at the bottom of every single stream to let you people know, what information they can find out about the game. And people tend to not notice the chat command ticker. I also like to have my information for each game in the ticker. Alright, now we have this bonus stage, and then we have to do the boss stage. And that first night I was playing, as I was getting my my hair done for the first time, I actually did get to Bridge Zone. I don't think I get any further than Bridge Zone. And I also read the manual for the game there as well. Oh, and also, I guess I will also be at the end of this section. At the end of once I beat the game here, and once we maybe do the magazines, right? Maybe right before my midstream break. Because once I beat Sonic the Hedgehog, and do my, I mean, I already have more lives than I'd ever need. Oh my goodness. Yeah, because if I get sent back, I could very easily mess up and get bamboozled, being bounced back and forth between those bumpers, and end up losing my chance to make it to the goal. I already have 3 continues. I have 11 lives and 3 continues. Only up to 9 lives will show. They'll show on the map screen and on the scoreboard screen, but they will not show on the game map. See, it only shows 9. Now, they shortened in Sonic the Hedgehog on Genesis, the original release of this game. You could not. You got through the first 2 acts, and then the 3rd act would contain the boss fight with Robotnik. But it would also be a full-fledged stage leading up to the boss fight. In the Game Gear and Master System version, the 8-bit version of this game, what you have is the first 2 acts being full-fledged platformer stages, and the 3rd stage being nothing but a lead-up to the arena where you do face Robotnik. Now, leaning here or in the center will always allow you to safely dodge the bullets that Robotnik will shoot. The Master System version of this boss fight, due to the aspect ratio of the screen, it's a larger arena that actually has water hazards that you could fall into. Really the only hazard here is Robotnik himself and his bullets. But this was a really hard boss fight as a kid. And then now once I played when I was older, I realized, oh, you could just lean here or at the bottom of the arc. So I stay in the center, so I'm have equal access to either side of the arena, so I can see which side he comes up on. And then, once I strike him, you come down to the bridge, duck down, let his bullets soar over you, and as he's retreating. Now, one thing I remember being interesting was when I got this, first time I managed to pull this off, was seeing that the animals in the roboticizer actually are different animals than the ones in the capsule at the end of the Green Hill Zone. And we just completed Bridge Zone, which you may have noticed is actually a completely original zone. It is something they created for this game, which I think has a lot to do with the fact that they really and here's another original stage, Jungle Zone. Fantastic sprite work here, really showing what looks like, it's funny having fruits in a game, in a platform game, where that aren't collectible power-ups, so you can't get points. Like there's like a tomato, there's something there, a pear. But you really have the image of a lush, vibrant jungle. These big flowers on these stalks, these vines creeping down the sides of the platforms. So with Bridge Zone and Jungle Zone, I feel like Yuzo Koshiro, whose company was Ancient, was created for the purpose of building this game for Sega. Basically, I feel like they wanted to play to the Game Gear's strengths instead of just trying to do a watered-down version of the Genesis game. They really played to what the game can do, and it's my personal opinion that this is better than the Genesis version. Now, the Genesis version is great. I love it. I didn't get to spend a whole lot of time with it back in the 90s. I got to play it at friends' houses, and once we went out of state for a family reunion, and at my grandfather's house in the South, we now what is? Okay, no, that's not. I have to. The next big waterfall like this, we have to go to the left to get the Chaos Emerald. We can't forget that, because I do want to 100% this. Oh, yeah, okay, there we go. And they put a spring right there to be a butt, but we're cleverer than that. And it's like, I like how they put that wooden peg there to indicate an axis, to indicate the axis against which the platform would swing. There's no real reason they had to put that peg there, but it gives a visual indicator as to, okay, the platform will swing to and fro around this fulcrum. I guess fulcrum, is that the right term for it? If it's not, let me know. But, yeah, so because I played these off-brand, I guess, kind of versions of Sonic and Mario, not the sort of prime versions on the home consoles, I had a very different sort of idea of what Sonic games are like, what Mario games are like, and Serial Wars saying you're gaming Call of Duty on PlayStation 4. You know, it was either Call of Duty or Medal of Honor, one of those early ones on PS2. I played one of those, I rented it, and I was hoping that, a certain bad man from Germany would be the final boss, and you'd get to shoot him. But, of course, that was back when those games were feigning at some sort of historical accuracy. Now, sometimes they will go for a bit more, stuff like Battlefield 1 and stuff like that, where they do give it a bit more of a historical period sort of feel to it, as opposed to the modern and futuristic settings that a lot of those games are at. But aside from that, I really can't give any personal stories about those games. But I wonder if anyone, like, in chat, or if anyone just in general, like, I haven't got to talk to too many people who, especially from the US, who really learned to love Sonic based on these 8-bit games on Master System and Game Gear. Because even like the Angry Video Game Nerd episode, he covered, like, I think he was told, it was a wish list episode, he did a lot of fan requests, and he said the bad Sonic the Hedgehog games. He's like, what, like Sonic Labyrinth on Game Gear? Zero Rose saying, you live in Western Canada? Yeah, is that, I don't think the Master System, the 8-bit Sega home hardware from this period, really did good anywhere in North America. But when I talk to people who loved, typically when I talk to people who loved Sonic based on his 8-bit games, they tend to be people from Europe or from Brazil. Not because in America, these games tend to sort of be seen as sort of watered down, lesser versions. What could you possibly expect of them? It's just a lamer version of Sonic. Whereas in the UK and Europe and in Brazil, Masters. Oh wow, that's the only, that green spring there is the only. I think that might be the only. No, oh well, there's the yellow one there. Yeah, this is actually probably the earliest depiction ever of Sonic as a pinball. You got the flipper there that you can control. And it is a bit like Sonic's pinball because you can sort of control them a bit separately from... I missed the continue there. Yeah, whereas in the UK and Europe and Brazil, Master System was a much bigger deal, and so it was important for Sega to get a Master System version of this game out for all the people who didn't upgrade to Mega Drive, or Genesis as it's known in North America, yet. and so they could play Sonic 2 as well. And a lot of people learned to love Sonic based on these games, and these were seen as just as a legitimate form of Sonic as the 16-bit version, even though that was the premier high-end version. Now, this game, this Game Gear version, has the mercy of letting the screen scroll back down. When, like, if I jump, see that there's the platform standing on that green grass? I jump there. See, like, it's off screen. I can jump back down. If that was on the Master System version, I would have taken a death there as though I'd fallen into a bottomless pit. Because of the mechanic known as ratchet scrolling, or wretched scrolling as I personally call it. It's sort of that Kid Icarus Contra style logic where once something is leaves the bottom of the screen, it no longer exists within the game world as a valid platform for Sonic to jump off of or land on. Logically, within the game world, there's no reason the platforms would disappear just because they're off the bottom of the visible play area. Now I'm gonna have to come the other way, and plus I already have more lives than I'd ever possibly need as it is, so we're just gonna keep moving up. So it makes the Master System version is much more challenging for this particular stage, much less forgiving. But on the other hand, I mean, I think it was a good decision because of the smaller aspect ratio of the Game Gear version. Not just that the screen is smaller, but the dimensions of the screen are lesser, so you could just fit less space. It's not a matter of just squishing it all down. Oh my goodness. Oh, so yeah, Toyota is... I think Toyota and Mitsubishi, they used to do things... I think they were doing things before automobiles. And I know Mitsubishi, they still make, they make canned oranges, Mitsubishi, that you can find in certain supermarkets, at least in the US. I haven't looked for them in years, but I think they used to just say Mitsubishi, I think, but it's very clearly the Mitsubishi Three Diamonds logo. And then they started calling it Three Diamonds, I guess, because the association with the car company was a bit too distracting, perhaps. But they did a good job, Samarina. If I'm saying that correctly, no need to respond in chat. Feel free to continue lurking. If you're surprised Coca-Cola didn't buy them out, I guess they didn't see any money in it, Cereal Wars. But yeah, what I do, right now I'm playing Game Boy and Game Gear. I'm actually playing this off, well, this is the copy of Super Mario Land I'll be playing later. And I'm playing the game right here on my Analog Pocket. And this here is actually my childhood copy of the game, which I'm very happy to still be in my possession. But of course, and this game, both Mario and Sonic are both available on the Nintendo 3DS Virtual Console. It's not easy. You have to jump through hoops to get money onto the Virtual Console eShop thing nowadays, but that service is shutting down forever in a couple of months. So if you're interested in owning digital versions, and paying for them, that's a way to do it and show that there's still interest in these old games. So I'll be Sonic the Hedgehog for Game Gear was the first game I ever played back in '91, and it was actually I got it, my copy. My parents gifted it to me the night I got my hair braided for the first time, which is cool. And a few years later, so this game we're playing right here in this very cartridge is what taught me to love Mario and Sonic. Taught me to love Sonic and video games, because I had no interest in video games before that. But we're not just gonna play the games. We also earlier we're looking at the television commercials for Sonic. And I was talking about how the commercial got me interested in video games to begin with. And then after this, we're gonna look at some magazine coverage for the Game Gear version of this game that we're playing right now. We're gonna look at Game Gear and Sonic the Hedgehog period magazine coverage. And then we're gonna do a little midstream break, and when we come back, we're gonna look at the commercials for Super Mario Land and Game Boy. We're gonna play through the game. I'm gonna talk, about my personal experience with it and everything. And then at the end of all that, we're gonna look at magazine coverage for Game Boy and Super Mario Land. And the fact that I could play both of these games on the same piece of hardware, the Analog Pocket, is something I was looking forward to for a very long time to allow me to do these sort of streams, because Game Boy and Game Gear are such distinct systems in terms of their strengths and weaknesses. Yeah. You know, it's funny, if you look at, Serial Wars was talking about Fanta, and if you actually look into the history of Fanta, it actually is pretty interesting and sort of has some unfortunate associations with a certain, evil organization that was in charge of Germany at one point. I won't go into detail on that, but you can look it up. Alright, and jump. Now this here is the hardest boss in the game. This is as hard as the final boss to me. Because the cannonballs, when they explode... Okay, we have to not fall. Yeah, Serial Wars said it more bluntly. But I am possibly going to put this up on YouTube, so there's certain things I won't say out loud. I don't want to necessarily trigger YouTube's content algorithms or anything. Not that I care about this being monetized, but I don't want it to be age restricted or something, thinking I'm talking about World War II. The cannonballs explode. They have like a very slow explosion cycle, and the hitbox for the explosion lasts for a few frames after the bomb actually and the cloud of smoke actually vanishes. Then hitting Robotnik tends to cancel Sonic's sideways momentum, so it causes him to drop straight down, potentially straight into a cannonball. I will say that, and when I try to I've done streams, and I'll try them again in the future, where I attempt to 100% the game while taking 0 deaths. A perfect single credit run. And whenever I try that, it is often Jungle Robotnik, the third boss fight of the game, that ends up causing most of my resets. Now, the timer here is very generous. Now, the air bubbles seem to run on some kind of RNG sort of spinner, where every several frames, the game will, let's say, flip a coin, and there's a 50% chance that it will produce a bubble. I don't know if that's on a technical level how it works, but that's what it seems like is going on. Now, due to that, you can find an air bubble spawn point with plenty of time to spare, and sit around and sit around and sit around waiting for an air bubble. And I've actually taken deaths because waiting for an air bubble. The way they really sort of position the air bubbles in this version of Labyrinth Zone is, which by the way has a unique track composed by Yuzo Koshiro, which I think is, I mean, the Genesis version of this theme is iconic. It's a fantastic piece of music. I think this is a lot cooler of a piece of music. I think it's a piece of music that has the Labyrinth Zone theme on Genesis is very relaxing, very calming, kind of. But the stage itself is hard as heck, whereas here, this version of Labyrinth, you could barely even consider this a labyrinth. But the music has a lot more bite, a lot more attitude to it. And I think, now here we have the first switch of the game. Now we have a box that displays a ring. I hit this switch, and now it displays a 1-up. So by hitting that switch, you can either get 10 rings or a 1-up. So, actually, can I? It's not worth it. I'm not going back to get a 48. Is it worth going back, trying to get 2 more rings to get access to the bonus stage? It is not. And actually, there's some rings earlier in the stage that I passed up. I'm like, I don't need the rings. If I have a shield, I just need 1 ring, and I'm good for 2 hits. So now you notice on the map we're now higher up in terms of the by the way, anyone who's unfamiliar, let me drop this in chat real quick. There is, you can get a sense of what my schedule is like. And I stream on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Each stream is a little different. On Tuesdays I do watch party and watch along things. The one that's coming up this Tuesday, you do not need an Amazon Prime account for. It's something that it's I can just put it right up. It's on YouTube. I'm just going to run it right here on Twitch. But for other movies and stuff like that that are available on Amazon Prime, I mean, if I do use the watch party system, I won't have copyright problems, and it's just a lot more seamless. I don't have to balance the audio for the content myself. Yeah, for all video content that is not, you know, watch party stuff, for any video content, I pre-balance the audio to make sure it's not too loud or too quiet, make sure you can actually hear my voice as well as the video content well, which does take up time. You gotta find an air bubble. Now these aren't seconds, but the timer does tick down rather quickly. Now, how they position the air bubbles in this game is they try to lure these spikes. Really, it's more about how they position the spikes. And what they do is they lure you into hurrying past the spikes out of fear of getting to the next air bubble spawn point. And those down arrow boxes actually are your your checkpoints. Yeah, they try to lure you into making rash decisions, trying to jump ahead of the spikes, so that the pikes that go up and down, they try to lure you to jump ahead of those, so that you get to the next air bubble. But actually just sit there, be patient, wait. They give you ample time to get across those hazards. And having little advice like this, this is why I want to do a pre-recorded. I want to do a script, a walkthrough. And what I really can't stand is IGN will do this. Lots of people will just post unabridged, unedited gameplay of people playing through the game and call that a walkthrough. Oh my goodness. That is not a walkthrough. That's just you casually playing the game, and it's not even edited down. It's not broken up into chapters. You're just watching someone else play the game. And that's not good quality to me. When I say I'm doing a walkthrough, what I mean is that I'm actually going to show you each moment of the game. I'm going to say, avoid this here. Watch out for this there. Here's where you can find, secret power-ups or something like that. Now, this is ridiculous. Watch this. Oh, look. It's Chaos Emerald. It's just sitting out in the open. Because, now in the Master System version, is really cool. Because the Master System version makes you go to that other area on the left. There's nothing in there that's worthwhile in the Game Gear version. On the Master System version, you have to go over there to get an invincibility box. Then run through that gauntlet of fireball launchers. The gargoyle fireball launchers. And when you get to the Chaos Emerald is in a bed of spikes that you need the invincibility power-up in order to phase through and collect the emerald. That's fantastic game design. I guess they just wanted to make it easier, or they didn't feel confident, and that the challenge would be fair with the smaller screen, being able to see less of the hazards and traps. Now, this stage right here is the boss stage, and we do not have to worry about our air supply here. Because, now it's funny, I was mentioning before how the third act in this game, the third acts only have a lead up to the boss fight. Now, I could jump through this bed of spikes, get a 1-up. There are no rings. Because it's only the boss fight, there's no rings. To make it, you have to beat the boss on a perfect run unless you bring the shield with you, which you cannot do in the Genesis version, as I understand it. But to make up for the fact, to sort of balance out the fact that you get no rings, in each of the boss stages, there is a hidden 1-up. It's usually hidden somewhere very slightly out of sight, or someplace that will look like you're going to take a death or fall into a bottomless pit. Serial Wars is saying you rock. Oh my goodness! I let that go to my head. I let myself get distracted. That's not your fault, Serial Wars. That's on me as a streamer not to get distracted by chat messages, because normally I don't let that happen to me. But what I was gonna say is, Serial Wars, you stream too sometimes, and whenever he's on, it's always a treat. He's got this cool motorhome with all these or what is that called? Like an RV, a motorhome? What exactly is the technical term for that? Because there are several terms, and I think they're slightly different. So I don't want to misdescribe your mobile base of operations, but it is a wood grain wonderland inside. It looks comfy as heck. he was talking about how he play games in there, while it's snowing out, and keep the place warm. It looks like a really cool place to hang out, and he streamed from there before. It's really neat. Now, this little apartment I have now, I actually do like my I like my old layout, because the way my layout in my old apartment was, I had a table to my side that I could have my... It won't work with the layouts I have now, but especially earlier on when I was streaming. Serial was asking, hey, I was wondering, and now that it's a new year, any chance of an update to the Super Train Station H website? I don't have a link to my website, but I will just drop links to my social media. I'm considering what I want to do with the website. I may leave that version of the website up as it is. There's some services that let you do some like GeoCities style pages, but with a more drag and drop interface. I have to try to pick and choose, especially now that I'm streaming 3 times a week. I also want to work on my writing, and my professional writing and my recreational writing, which includes some children's book stuff. Any writing that's not like, copywriting, advertising stuff, I'm considering part of my personal recreational writing, even though I do want to make money off of some of that. Now, I didn't get to talk... no, I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it, but I have to pick and choose what I will and won't update. For one thing's for sure, that site's not going away. If I do something, I might turn SuperTrainStationH.com into... I might do, let's say, new SuperTrainStationH.com, and have the existing classic site sort of exist as a sort of a moment in time. And it's funny because the site, it looks like it's from 1999, and the fact that it hasn't been updated in years kind of lends to that atmosphere a bit, but I'm proud of it. I just have to choose how I spend my time and where. Now, I love the sprite work in Scrap Brain Zone here. It's cool in the Genesis version, but it's even cooler, I think, here, even though it's simpler. The dusky, smoggy backgrounds, the skyscrapers, the domed, the factories. I love it. And if you were a robot, this would be a pretty fun place to live. And this version of the Scrap Brain Zone theme was composed by Uzo Kishiro. Now grab... Yes, I collect... Oh, that was smooth. That was smooth. Oh my goodness. I gotta... Okay, I just wanted to hit my Stream Deck button to bookmark that. That was really... I know, Samarina found me from my Tumblr poem about the Game Gear. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I wrote that. I'll tell you what, I wrote that on, my... you mentioned I was a writer. Tell me if I'm saying your name wrong, but yeah, this is my my little word processor that I carry with me nearly everywhere I go. I use it for both my recreational and professional writing, and most of my all my writing is done. I wrote that poem on here, and it's funny because I wrote a poem about a Game Gear and something about the size of a Game Gear. But yeah, this little machine. If all this does is write. The only thing you do with is this can do is write. It has no apps, no internet connection. And the other machine I use for a lot of my writing is this contraption right here. This is another word processor that it's not as portable, but it actually basically uses the technology of a child's toy laptop. But it's a really useful effect. I'm glad you liked my poem about the Game Gear. Actually, when I finish the game, when I finish playing through this, I'm actually gonna recite the poem on stream. I did it before, like 6 or 7 months ago when I first read it. That was when Harbus was in here. Oh, that's a cool little emote. Is that from someone, a streamer's like emote package, or is that one of the default ones that's floating around? Yeah, I do have a set of emotes that I offer here. Now, it's funny, this first stage for Sonic the Hedgehog and for the Scrap Brain Zone is actually a very simple, straightforward stage. There's not much chances to get lost or anything like that. Now, Samarina, did you, are you familiar with, you got attracted to the stream by the poem. Did you play Game Gear either back in the day or maybe discover its library more recently and play it on aftermarket hardware? like like on the 3DS on the Virtual Console, or you just play the ROM on PC, or did you actually have it back in the day? Or hey, if you never even touched Game Gear before ever, then that's perfectly fine. And as far as I'm concerned, they're even like I say in the poem, I've had people who've been playing Sega and Sonic for years who come into the stream when I'm playing this game and be like, what is this weird version of Sonic? Is this a bootleg Sonic game? Oh, Semarina's saying, yes, it was the first game and device I got when it came out, so attached to it over the years. Alright, speaking of my website, let me pull out I'm gonna go ahead and link to this real quick. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, but I wrote this a number of years ago on my website, and I'm just gonna drop it into chat right here. Boom. Yeah. So, oh yeah. Actually, in the near future, my keyboard sounds so good. It picks up on screen. Yeah, I have a mechanical keyboard that yeah, and my mic's not like. My keyboard's over here, and my mic is right here, and I guess it picks up really good. I didn't get it for the sound, I got it really more for the feel. But yeah, that's a write-up of my experience with Game Gear back in the day. And Semarina's saying they had a Sonic 2 and Sonic Pinball. Well, Sonic Spinball is officially called. I always call it Sonic Pinball. Officially, the game is named Sonic... Now, look at this. I never noticed this as a kid. Well, see that light on the bottom? That indicates what floor you're on of the stage. Which is so cool. And Cyril was saying they had yellow Game Boy with Pokemon Yellow before you got a Game Gear with Sonic. Yeah, I had the Game Gear. I got it in '91. The first time I got my hair braided. And Sonic 2, I can tell you stories about Sonic 2. Now, oh my goodness. I normally don't take deaths in Scrap Brain Zone. I normally don't even take damage in Scrap Brain. Let me get off these conveyor belts and continue telling the story. Oh my goodness. So, I was new to the idea of video games. I was 1993, and I lived in New York City. And I was aware of the world outside of New York City, but we didn't have any reason to leave New York City that often. Now, here's a branching path. You can go up or down. You want to go down here. And I'll show you, you'll see why later. This is a very cleverly designed stage. But I was filming a Sudafed commercial at a private school in upstate New York. And so the idea of just leaving New York City, and especially, sometimes if you left New York City, it was to go to Long Island. Leaving New York City and Long Island, and I realized that, wait, there's New York out that's not New York City and Long Island? It was such a cool discovery. There's a place called upstate New York with, like, forests and mountains, and we took me and a bunch of kids and our parents, we went on this van to some private school in upstate New York, and this was in the summertime, so class wasn't in session, and it was a Sudafed commercial, and the idea, so you fall down here, hit this switch, and you switch those gates. So now, next time I come up from above, I can go to the left. And if you don't know that, it's a very clever, very vexing little puzzle, not unreasonably difficult, but makes you use your brain, makes you explore around a bit. So your Chaos Emerald in this stage, you're going to find it right down here that looks like a death pit, but actually it is a secret passage. And you take this teleporter up here to grab the Chaos Emerald. And so we're going to continue back through to the left. So you could get lost. You could end up coming to the right through here and not realize till you get up top that you were not in the right place. Now, all those pits there are death traps, so you don't want to fall down there. Oh my goodness, I probably had frames to spare. And I just realized this fairly recently, but you can almost kind of clip into the wall there. Now, watch me mess around. Yeah, and end up going into a minus world or something crazy like that. But, so in between takes, because, we're child actors, so we have tons of break time, tons of time between takes where they have to change the reels and the cameras and stuff like that. And the idea was, it was a Sudafed commercial about a teacher who was drowsy or had a stuffy nose. She had to take a medicine that wouldn't make her dizzy or sleepy so that she could continue dealing with the crazy kids. And by coincidence, there are 2 cuts of the commercial, one where this other kid was the star of the commercial, and one where I was the star of the commercial. And, while in between takes, we all got out. If we had Game Boys, Game Gears, we got them out. And this kid had a Game Gear, and he had Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And I was like, they made a second Sonic the Hedgehog game? And, of course, I made sure that, our parents were talking, and not too long afterwards, actually with the money, partially with the money that we earned from me filming that, it being that commercial, my parents took me to Toys R Us, and we got a copy of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which was so hard. Semarina, how far did you ever get in Sonic 2? Because I never got, only once back in the 90s, back when I was a kid, my older brother managed to beat the first boss once, that crab boss. And the screen is so hard, you have to dodge these falling rocks, and then the idea that you have to let the rocks hit the boss to damage the boss until he eventually just explodes without you attacking him? That's pretty advanced tactics, especially for a younger kid, and you can't, go online and ask for help. So, only once did my brother get to Sky High Zone, the second zone of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for Game Gear, and we couldn't get the hang glider to work. And earlier on, when I started streaming in 2020, we got, we're at Scrap Brain Act 3. We're gonna have the Robotnik encounter. So, if you'll notice, like all of the boss stages, there's no timer in this stage. Now, there's no timer. But there is there's no timer going on, so we have no time limit. So we're on level 2. Now, I'm gonna tell you, I never got this far as a kid. I didn't get this far until I started playing on Twitch. But we're gonna go straight through here. We're gonna go down. Now, I think every time I walk through here, I brake. I do the little brake to stop. Because I seem like, oh shoot, stop right there. But no, that actually is not an active hazard. I guess they decided that that wasn't a fair hazard and they decided to deactivate it. So it's just sitting there, but it's the only one in the game that does not light up. And I guess another thing they decided, they did not want to have any hazards in this game. This is not a stage about hazards and danger. It is a stage just about, the only challenge here is to find your way through. Left. Go up. Okay, left. We're gonna go up. Now, if you notice that with the gates, you can only pass through the gates on the side that the lights are on. So if I pass through that gate, it won't open again. This gate, if I pass through there, I'll have to, but that's the wrong way. So, with this catapult here. Up. And we go up. And we've solved the puzzle at this point. Now, that switch there, that's so mischievous to put a switch there. Because what that switch does is drop that barrier. So, it's just a switch that you have to drop, and if you hit it, you have to go back. Now, this is Act 3, and in Act 3 of each stage, we fight a Robotnik boss fight. But in this Robotnik, let's see. Oh, there he is! We're in Scrap Brain, which is the last stage, last zone in Genesis. But he went up, took an elevator up to somewhere. And we're gonna follow him, and that's the stage. 57, lucky number of rings there. But in the Labyrinth Zone Act 2 is the last opportunity you have to enter the special stage. You cannot enter the special stage from Scrap Brain onward. So now we're in a new stage, a new zone, especially made for Game Gear, called Skybase. Now, if you are photosensitive, or have any health hazards related to flashing lights, I do want to warn you. Without, in all seriousness, this was before they really had the knowledge of how to calibrate strobe effects in games to not trigger health hazards for people with epilepsy. So it's certain people. This may cause problems for them. It may not be a safe part. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! That is not. Oh, that was cool. Okay, I got bamboozled for my shield and my rings. Now, my strategy with the rings here, you grab the rings, You grab the rings, and then... But you don't want to... You only need to grab one ring at a time. You don't need to grab every ring you see, because you could get hit by lightning or by an exploding enemy, because there are bomb-like enemies in this stage. And you want to have rings around so that if you get hit without a shield, you could recover. And oh my goodness, it is not every day that I actually take a death in this stage these days. And there are no checkpoints, so we got to do that all over again. So we're going to be a little more careful this time. It's been, I don't think, might have been, not since 2020, I think, have I actually taken a death in Stage 1 during a serious run of this game. We want to get as far away from that little butthole as possible. Alright, we've got our, we've got at least one, we got one or more rings, and we've got our shield. And if we're crafty and lucky, we can take this shield all the way to the final boss fight with Robotnik. And we have to get close enough to that. You have to get close enough to trigger that cannon and start shooting. It only shoots when Sonic's within a certain range of the cannon. Okay. We want to get up here, and... Alright. We have 10 minutes to beat this stage, so it's not... You just want to not jump too hard and jump into the next stream of bullets. And... Alright, and we advance. Oh, it's this butthole. We want to jump onto this platform. These platforms only move when Sonic's feet are touching them. And I thought, the first time I encountered this, that when the platform touched the wall, that the propeller thing would fall down, and that's not how this works. It actually will just stay there and wait patiently for you. Because there's some games where once a moving platform reaches a certain point, that reaches the end of its course, it will fall down. So we climb up here. You have the cannon. Let it shoot. Hey, it's sinful. Yeah. Do I help your mom with something? Hey, moms always come first. Moms always come first. So, yep, no apologies necessary. You can pick up anything else in the VOD. But we're getting now. Look at this. We reached. So what Skybase? What that zone was the launch pad for Robotnik's Zeppelin, and this is the first ever depiction of in the Sonic franchise of Dr. Robotnik having a space station or a Zeppelin or a space station or some kind of flying like aircraft carrier. It's the first depiction of Robotnik having a flying base, and here it's like a Zeppelin pirate ship airship, which is really neat. But yeah, so this is before the Death Egg, before the egg carrier. There was... Now, if we climb up here, so we've got... Oh my goodness. This is not... I did not want that to happen. I did not want that to happen. Oh my... Okay, I took a death there because I basically had to take a death there because the only way to get... I accidentally locked myself into a path for that does not take... Now, the only way to get the Chaos Emerald, you have to take a leap of faith right there onto that platform. This platform takes you down a route that's very difficult to... They're spinning... They're batteries of mounted guns that spin and fire at random. And because of the... they did a great job with these cloud sprites that are passing by. With the bobbing of the airship up and down, you feel like you're actually... on board an airship in flight, and that these platforms are sort of moving independently of them, but they're turrets of mounted guns. See, look at this. Look at this. Oh my gosh, I think the slowdown actually let me survive that. Basically, these bullets, they spin at random. You have to be on these platforms, and you could very easily get killed with no fault of your own. And this is where I take, like, most of my deaths when I was attempting single credit runs. and you're at the mercy of, I think it's RNG based or some kind of timer that's probably maybe starts when but now we're on. So we bypassed a gauntlet of traps, mounted batteries, spinning saw blades to get the Chaos Emerald up near the. Oh my! Of course, I instantly get killed. Or at least I don't have to collect the emerald again. Now, normally, if I do take a death, a death, it'll usually be after I jump over the chain. But there, I just got bad luck. And you know what? I was waiting sort of on that platform for longer than usual, so maybe I just got a different cycle than what I have the muscle memory for. Now, do not let my my gameplay fool you. I am not a hardcore gamer in terms of skill. I am not a speedrunner. I've spent maybe about 16 to 20 hours on stream in past streams, and I will point to my VODs over on YouTube. Of me attempting to beat this game with a single credit run, and all the deaths are hilarious that I take, because some of them are, you know, I'm so close to the end, some are just really silly where something random happens. Sometimes it's just like, alright, I wasn't paying enough attention, I was getting a little cocky. But yeah, the right after you get the emerald, it's very easy to take a death right there. I usually take it a little further in, actually, but now, if you do not switch between these platforms, the platform you're on eventually stops and you get killed with nowhere to... No! I cannot believe that happened again! Yeah, normally I do not take this many deaths on a run of Sonic the Hedgehog, but fortunately we're not doing single credit, because if I'm this far in a single credit run, I will beat the game just so I can get more practice against the final boss. But any other stage, anything pre-Skybase, if I take a death, I will just reset the entire game and start from zero. Yeah, because so you need to get that final Chaos Emerald. And okay. Oh, I feel like this is gonna be, I'm gonna have a bad cycle with this cannon. Alright, it's been merciful to me. Oh my god, okay. Cannon's being good to me. And then the cannon, I think, rotates clockwise. So, alright, this time all you have to do is not get killed. Which is the advice that applies to any video game ever made, except for the ones where there's no enemies and no hazards that can kill you. Okay, we made it. We're good, we're good. We're good. These are simple. You just avoid them. And notice there's no indicator for rings. It's just saying, like, hey, you're not getting any rings in this stage, so don't even be not fooled. And so we have all these... I love this sprite work here, all these panels and buttons. I love the smoggy, dusky city of, you know, of this version of Scrap Brain. And by the way, I want to comment, this is the last time we're going to hear this in this game. The music of this game, of this zone, and, well, of the Scrap Brain Zone theme. In the Genesis version, it's not, Yuzo Koshiro's version of this is much better. Even though it's on less sophisticated sound hardware, he develops the melody a lot better. Whereas in Genesis, it's more of an ambiance, this sort of ominous ambiance. Here, he develops this ominous ambiance into an actual theme. And this would be such a cool, the Scrap Brain Zone, it would be such a cool, oh wow. I think you always do get a 1-up on this particular stage. Yeah, so we're at the final boss fight now, but yeah, with like the smoggy city, the factories, the machines, this would be a cool place to live if you're a robot. And I've seen some cool Badnik OC characters being shared in fandom spaces like Tumblr. Now this, okay, I have to focus here. This is a very, very, as long as I'm standing on this leftmost platform, the lightning ball will always coast over Sonic's head, as long as my feet are touching there when it launches. I launch there, that middle fireball jet comes. No, no, no! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh. There are times when you could accidentally clip into Robotnik's chamber there, and it seems like, oh cool, I could get more hits on him than the game intended. But no, see look, you tend to get caught inside, and then it sort of spits you back out, and causes you to take a death. And so even when I'm not trying to be sneaky and clip into his chamber to get extra cheap hits in on him, you can still take a death there very easily. And so, boom. And so if you've, in the Game Gear version, it's a very simple pattern to follow. You just follow the pattern I'm doing, and you are at basically no risk, aside from like accidentally clipping in and getting spit out as the game tries to correct the wall problem. Like the sort of invisible wall problem thing, where it doesn't quite keep Sonic restrained out of Robotnik's chamber as the game intends. Now, the Master System version of this boss stage is a lot more dynamic. There's like a force field electric wall that sort of roves back and forth through the arena. And about halfway through, well, earlier on, it'll sort of just zoom left and right at a standard pace. When about halfway through the battle, when he's taken about half his HP, when you're taking about half of his HP down, what will happen is the electric barrier will begin to track Sonic's movement a bit. And I haven't played the Master System version. When I play it, I can explain it, but now that I'm not have my fingers on it, and plus I don't want to think too much about the Master System version while I'm trying to, Okay, that was outside of my normal cycle. That was a bit of a hazardous thing to do. So fortunately it did work out. Because I only should have 1 or 2 hits left. Oh no, that was I probably had 1 hit left. That was just me being silly. Alright, so we're just going to give it one more shot. This should be the one. It usually takes me 2 or 3 times to beat him, and this is my 3rd try today. Now, I mean, one of those 3 times, I just got, like, destroyed. That was not fair. That was just the game being a butt because they couldn't quite program, like, as far as on a technical level, in terms of the technology involved, in terms of gameplay, functionality. The worst part of this game is the fact that the invisible barrier on Robotnik's force field isn't programmed right. You tend to accidentally clip inside, even when you're not trying to cheese the game out, and the game responds by launching you out of the force field straight through to the other side. Alright. Boom. Boom. We'll take 2 hits there. He hits the button. That middle. Yeah, it's always, the Flame Jet's traps always come up in the same pattern, right, middle, and left. So you can use that to, you just wait till the lightning ball launches. Because it does not, sort of follow Sonic around in as menacing a manner as you might expect. But I mean, this is a fantastic first final boss. I mean, I never beat it as a kid, but I remember sitting in the back. Oh, we got him. We got him. And of course, Eggman manages to outrun Sonic. Alright. Yeah, sitting in the back seat of my parents' car while my brother, who was older than me, better at video games, and even getting to the end of this game for him was a big deal. I remember sitting over his shoulder, watching him, and so we got all the Chaos Emeralds. So watch what Sonic is going to do with the Chaos Emeralds. This does not happen in the Genesis version, and it fits perfectly with the theme of Sonic the Hedgehog's, with, you know, animals versus robots. You know, Sonic, who was a free spirit who wants everyone to be free and loves nature, versus Robotnik, who wants to control everything with his machines, replace all the animals with robots, replace all the forests with factories. This nature versus industrialism theme of Sonic. And Sonic uses the Chaos Emeralds to cleanse the island of Robotnik's pollution. A perfect ending that Yuzo Koshiro and his team are geniuses for coming up with this, because this was not in the Genesis version. Yeah, Serial Wars, it is pretty awesome. Now, in the tradition of the Sonic the Hedgehog 2020 film, whenever we defeat Dr. Robotnik, we go to Olive Garden. So, you have a very poorly photoshopped picture of me in front of Olive Garden. And, you have special bonus here. This is the bonus you get for collecting the Chaos Emeralds. That's why the 100% speedrun category for this game is known as Max Special Bonus. Now, the funny thing about this game is that when you beat the stages very quickly, you get so much bonus time that you actually are basically accidentally penalized time on the scoreboard screens because all that bonus time for beating the stage rapidly, it takes time for those bonus points to add up. So what's in the speedrunning community, what they agreed to do for this and many other Sonic games is to, when you're doing a real-time race, that's one thing. But in terms of your speedrun, what is done for the official rules is that they will edit out the, with frame precision, they will edit out all of the scoreboard screens at the end of each stage so that only the actual gameplay is accounted towards the time. So this is done by Ancient. One thing I want to mention, Yuzo Koshiro did do sound producer, Yuzo Koshiro. He did I guess that's Nakamura. I guess that's the sound effects, not the music, but he did Koshiro did rearranging an original, here we go, here's Yuzo Koshiro. He did an 8-bit rendition of the Marble Zone theme. Now, the interesting thing about that is that Marble Zone does not appear in this game, so they may have actually been shown notes, because this is kind of being produced alongside the Genesis version of the game. Yoshiro Y and Lunarian SG. Lunarians being the sort of species that is sort of my, from my alternate universe, the species of people that are featured in my art and such like. Now, let's go ahead. Now that we beat that game, first I'm going to recite the poem that, we're going to recite the poem that Samarina was mentioning, for those who had not heard it before. And then we're going to read some vintage magazines, covering the Game Gear version of Sonic. So if anyone's interested in seeing this poem for themselves, I'm going to drop that in chat right here. There's where I post it on Tumblr. And let me pull it up here. And, alright, here we go. Game Gear. Keeps you busy till the train's here. Full color screen, 8-bit graphics so vibrant they make your eyes tear. No one cared that it's just a smaller Master System. It had top-tier games, so he put it into commission. Stereo sound to listen, but only if you got headphones. Can't squeeze 2 speakers on something that predates iPhones. Playing it on the ride home, Dad stuck in late-night Brooklyn Bridge traffic, speed's a no-go. But I'm behind the wheel with Arid and Senna racing in Monaco. The glow of the screen makes the backseat a party scene. The battery's running out now would be a bad dream. They drain faster than Sonic dying in Sonic Spinball. Mom's got extra Duracell, she's got it covered, so trust her. Vanishing colored gems in columns like fruit gushers. Fantasy Zone, a shooter with Lisa Frank syndrome. Space combat so cute you don't want to quit. Sonic the Hedgehog, where do I start with this? I admired Eggman's robot transformation gimmick, but roboticizing my animal friends is beyond my limit. Doc mocks me with Cummings' Robotnik cartoon voice because my headcanon for this game is multiple choice. Sally, Antoine, Bunny, and Rotor are my backup crew. Gonna beat Robotnik and all his badniks too, and solve mechanical puzzles too tough for Nancy Drew. The Doctor's sinister, his boss stages make my head spin, but in the name of great justice, I gotta fight him. Powered by 6 AA's of bottled lightning. Loved my Game Gear. For playing in the dark, nothing came near, but its nemesis the Game Boy was one for Sega to fear. Nintendo's black and white screen made Sega get cocky. Let their guard down, but Game Boy came swinging like Rocky. Smaller price tag, which the parents loved. Needing less batteries fit budgets like a glove. Barely small enough to fit in a 90s kid's pocket. Looks like a brick today, but back then it was some hot kit. You know Mr. Yokoi's team was proud of it, and the batteries lasted a lot longer too. You could play all day hiding it under your desk at school. And Sega boned their own ads by dissing Game Boy fans instead of luring handheld gamers with an olive branch. Wow, what a system. How could I not miss it? Nostalgia soaring high like Space Harrier missiles. I showcase it on Twitch to help spread the word. Sometimes it's new to even long-time Sega nerds. I talk forever on Game Gear. You know I like this. But my batteries are low, so it's time to split. And what are we splitting to? We are splitting directly into... Oh, hey, Samarina. Yeah, so I guess that's the first time you heard it out loud, huh? Yeah, so... you go by the same name over on Tumblr by chance? If you don't want to mention that, out in the open, that's perfectly understandable. Don't feel pressured. But we're going to jump straight into some period magazine coverage. Yeah, I'm really honored that poem earned you my attention and your time to come check me out live. So this is a UK magazine. This is Handheld Go. Oh, Azurest. Yeah. Thanks for subscribing with using your Twitch Prime sub on me. You can use that Twitch Prime sub on absolutely anyone. So I want to thank you for choosing to use it on me. I want to check out. Let's see. If I go into, I rearrange my stream deck. Do I have a command for? Alright. I don't... I thought I had a command to show off my, my emotes, but they're little doorworm emotes. If you like, I do have this ready. If you like the little critters that are riding on these creatures' tails, you can use some in my stream. These are kind of like my little mascot critters, my sort of personal things I've created, as well as the actual more humanoid beings that they ride on. But it's really more about the doorworms themselves. I created these anthropomorphic beings, the Lunarians. I created them as an accessory for doorworms, not the other way around, because I wanted to create some kind of sapient race with us that was based around having some sort of symbiotic relationship. Now, so here we got this WWF game. Let's check out. So we've got emphasis on handheld games here. So there's Super Monaco GP. Now, Monaco GP2 was the one that was sponsored by the late Ayrton Senna, who was. And look at this. Just seeing footage. Just seeing. It's incredible seeing Game & Watch. Just Game & these would be worth so much money now. $15, $16. Wait, these prices actually might be in pounds. This is a UK magazine, I believe. But yeah, you got an emphasis on handheld games here. Now, tune into Sega Telly. Yeah, Telly. Like I said, this is a UK magazine. So this here, this is a adapter that turned your Game Gear into a portable over-the-air television. And the idea of this fascinated me when I was a kid, because when I got my Game Gear, I gave it the catalog with different games and accessories, and it had this in there, and I was like, wow, you could turn your Game Gear into a TV? The idea of just being able to watch television anywhere you go, and of course nowadays we have smartphones, and you have access to more entertainment than you could ever imagine having on over-the-air TV, 30 years ago, but at last, it's here at last, the peripheral all Game Gear owners have been waiting for, the Sega TV Tuner. It plugs into the cartridge slot of your GG and works like a normal handheld telly, complete with tuning dial, allowing you to find not only BBC One and IVT, but BBC Two and Channel 4 as well. Yeah, it does look like a transistor radio, and I'm surprised it didn't function as a radio as well. Now, I'm sure this thing drained the batteries even worse than the regular games. In fact, my parents, very quickly after they got me the Game Gear, figured out that the thing to do was to get me what they called, it was like these twin packs that were rechargeable. They fit into the battery ports of the system, and eventually those stopped working. So they in '94, the same day I got Sonic Triple Trouble, what I also got was what they called the Power Back, and that screwed onto the back of the system and acted like an extra grip for it. But it plugged into the wall adapter of the Game Gear as though you're plugging into the wall. And that was rechargeable itself. And that's what I used through the rest of... So here we have Sonic on Game Gear. After tremendous success on the Mega Drive being the Sega 16-bit system was known as Mega Drive in every market outside of North America, where a computer company that released detachable hard drives owned the Mega Drive trademark and used for computer-related equipment. So they had to change the name to Genesis, and honestly, that's probably the best thing that happened to Sega in North America, because I think the Genesis name, much more marketable, much more edgy, and they were able to do some great trademark work with, styling the logos and everything. Then Mega Drive. Mega Drive, it sounds very computery. Genesis sounds like, that's a name for like a heavy metal band, right? It's very edgy, sort of hardcore. But let's go ahead. Sonic must bravely battle against the crazed Dr. Robotnik, who has captured all the animals and put them into robotic suits to terrorize the land. Guide Sonic through the different areas, collecting items and spiking Robotnik's minions as you go. The fruits of the evil doctor's twisted mind are ready to stop you in your speedy tracks, but a hedgehog's gotta do what a hedgehog's gotta do. Now, you can see these screenshots are very clearly taken off of an actual Game Gear unit. They're very washed out. You can see the scan lines on them. They actually photographed a Game Gear screen. And in these early days, for third-party magazines, as a lot of the screenshots, especially with handheld stuff, was just a photograph of the screen that they had to touch up and just take with the best lighting possible. Dicing with Death in the Dock. Each of the 6 levels, and 6 levels is underselling it, 6 worlds with 3 levels each, 2 platforming stages and the boss stage. Each of the 6 levels which make up Mario's world. Oh, they wrote each of the 6 levels that make up Mario's world. They said Mario instead of Sonic. Oops. Oops. Each of the 6 levels which make up Mario's world consist of 3 stages, at the end of which awaits Dr. Robotnik sitting in his flying saucer and waiting to bring Sonic's quest to a swift end. Defeat the dock and it's onto the metallic suit containing the kidnapped animals. Hit the switch and they're free! Yeah, so we have this. Oh, look at this! Look at this! This is something. Oh, we gotta zoom in on this. This is. I can't tell. I can't quite tell. I'll have to compare. There are no Orbinauts. And as far as I'm aware, there aren't any Orbinauts in Labyrinth Zone in the Game Gear version. They're definitely in the Master System version. I don't know if there are any in the Game Gear version. There are a couple of different paths and you could take. So they might be in one of the paths you could take that I normally don't bother with because I just take the most direct path to the Switch. Flip me, what a laugh. I guess that's some UK kind of colloquialism, because this is dealing with the colloquialisms of 30 years ago and from a different country. Review. Supersonic sauciness. Being a super hedgehog, Sonic could do more than snuffling around, drinking milk, and ruining gardens. As well as being able to run very quickly, our blue-hued boy could jump high in the sky, spinning wildly to knock out all manner of airborne creatures. Or if the enemy is ground-based, he can curl himself into a tight ball and scatter meanies like Skittles. All skills which he'll need to make use of if he's to foil Robotnik's wicked scheme. Now, for all of those who are not in the United Kingdom, he could curl himself into a tight ball and scatter meanies like Skittles. You're probably wondering, what the heck does that mean? Well, in UK English, Skittles are what we call bowling pins. I've heard reference to a bowling alley as a Skittles alley. All right, so he's saying they're gonna, instead of spinning like bowling pins. Whereas out of context, you're thinking the only context for Skittles we have in North American English, or at least in US English, is the Skittles candy. What's on TV? Activate the TV screens positioned around the levels and Sonic will receive various powers such as invincibility, even greater speed, and extra lives. Now there's only one Speed Shoes icon in the entire game, in the very first stage. And check all around the bonus levels when you get to them, because hidden away in a hard, difficult to get to part of the playing area is even a special screen which gives a free continue. I mean, they say a free continue, but there's no other way to get continues. Now, Tim Boone here, who is represented in a cartoon caricature form. Who would have believed it? Sonic pops up on the little Sega, and it's one of the best versions of the lot. Spanky graphics, fabby sound, and wickedly addictive gameplay all add up to one hell of a title you just can't miss, so grab it. Rings and things. Throughout the game, Sonic collects shiny gold rings, which have a number of uses. Being hit by a nasty while in possession of a ring saves our heroic I'm talking like Elmer Fudd. Heroic Hedgehog from deathly doom, whilst collecting 100 gives Sonic an extra life. Finish the level with more than 50 rings in your possession, though, and it's off to the bonus stage, where points rings can be picked up for a massive extra score. And now, this is Paul Rand, not be confused with Rand Paul, says, plug in and turn on the Sonic cart. Fall over in awe and pick yourself up and be thunderstruck by the sheer brilliance of this game. Blindingly fast, more difficult than the Mega Drive version, and with graphics which make bigger machines go weak at the knees, it's more than anyone could have expected or even hoped for. If you pass up the chance of playing Sonic on the GG, you might as well book yourself into a loony bin right now. More difficult than the Mega Drive version? I would say not. Now, mind you, I am much more familiar with the Mega Drive version than I am with the Game Gear version than I am with the 16-bit home console version. But now we'll breeze through the rest of this magazine, see if there's any other Sonic coverage. But yeah, Dial-A-Tip, Cheats Galore from Ireland, Amiga Hotline, Amiga Games Tips, Atari ST Games Tips, Console Hotline, what's the difference between the Console Hotline and the Console Game Tips? Sega Cheat Line, Nintendo Cheat Line, Sam Coop Hotline. I have no clue what that is. Now these phone numbers, as I understand, well, first off, they're 30 years old. Second, so they're not going to be the same phone number holders anyway. Secondly, these, as I understand it, UK phone numbers got reformatted sometime in the 90s or early 2000s. But look, yeah, so we have import games here. 3 High Street. Yeah, High Street in the UK is basically the equivalent of Main Street. So you see lots of High Streets here and there. See, look, you have... Yeah, Shikana Consoles. Yeah, they have a lot of... Shikana runs a lot of ads for import computer equipment in these ads. Now, you have Game Boy coverage as well. This isn't just a Game Gear ad. A Game Gear or Sega magazine. Yeah, just scroll through here. Oh, this is for Gauntlet. Donald Duck Quackbusters, I think. Oh, this is for Lucky Dime Caper. It's a game I saw in magazines, but I never... well, it's a game I saw in the manuals for... Alright. Oh, actually, you know what? We're going to keep reading. We're going to keep reading this. I'm glad I kept scrolling, because we're going to look at... Next, we're going to be playing Super Mario Land here, and so we're also going to do some magazine coverage. So this is going to be the perfect transition between the Game Gear section to the Game Boy section. Now, with Christmas only days away, you'll already be thinking about what handheld to buy with that festive dosh from, man, this UK slang and UK slang from 30 years back. From Auntie Mabel and Grandma, and the third of our series of Go Lowdowns, Paul Rand checks out the world's highest-selling portable games machine, the Game Boy from Nintendo. I actually want to take a look. Yeah, I could blow this up a little bit for my viewers. Yeah, that's a little better. When first reports of Nintendo's new Game Boy machine began to filter through, nobody knew what to make of them. Here was a monochrome handheld not much bigger than a calculator, which was selling millions in Japan and the States. But why? Surely it was just another one of those dodgy fixed movement Game & Watch machines. That was the mistake everyone made. For in fact, the Game Boy was the first of a new breed of portable machines, featuring real computer technology, high-resolution graphics, and best of all, a whole host of interchangeable game cartridges. Once word was out that this was one hot piece of property, the importers couldn't order enough of the things. That was around 3 years ago, the Game Boy still being snapped up by the bucket load, making it the most popular handheld in the world. Now, you can look at my VODs, but I actually found the ad in EGM, Electronic Gaming Monthly #1. They were covering rumors of a handheld. No, not even a hand. They said they didn't know what to make of it. It's the idea of a handheld system and the sense of the Game Boy, Game Gear, Lynx, even today, or the Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance. That did not exist then. The closest thing to it was the Milton Bradley Microvision, I think it was called, or something like that. But it was all about Game & Watch type things. So they're like, Nintendo's coming out with some kind of 8-bit console with a self-contained screen, and it's gonna have cartridges. Like, they didn't even know how to explain it, and like they didn't even have a name yet. It's just rumors of this thing crazy thing Nintendo's making. But get all the gear. If bits and pieces you're after, Game Boy is possibly the most add-onable handheld around. Mains power adapters, car cigarette lighter power supplies, and rechargeable battery packs keep you gaming on the go wherever you are. While case-mounted light allows play to continue long after the street lamps are switched on. If the playing area is just too titchy for your liking, why not go for a magnifier, increasing the size of the Game Boy screen around 50%. Just a small selection of the extras on offer for the Game Boy owner who wants everything. Keep an eye out for bum bag style carry cases, replacing your screens in case your existing one is scratched. The list goes on and on. Now this light and magnifying attachment, I did have this. It made the Game Boy very cumbersome. But the magnifying effect and the light were actually very useful. I have lots of memories playing Game Boy, backseat of my parents' car, playing Pokemon with an adapter like this. Alright, we'll read the summary of this console itself and probably move on. We're not going to be able to read through this whole thing. If you've ever seen a Game Boy in operation, you'll know that it's not the most technologically advanced machine around. A plotting 8-bit processor runs the show, surprisingly well too, due to the fact that because there's not an awful lot on screen to shift around, it can busy itself in more productive ways. Sound comes in the form of 4-channel stereo, played from the machine's internal speaker, or straight into the ears if the supplied headphones are connected. Screen resolution is low compared to other handhelds and the display is monochrome. What's more, it can be difficult at times to get a good quality picture thanks to the Game Boy's poor brightness control. Yeah, now, they mentioned the headphones. They did actually bundle the headphones and batteries with the console initially. Okay, that's the end of the magazine here. Now, let's see, what else? No, that's not yet. Now, let's look through here real quick. This magazine, this is also might be from the UK. So excuse me, this is from Australia. So it's from another Commonwealth country, another part of the Empire. It looks like the Game Gear and the 8-bit Sega in general just got much better coverage. Here's the yeah, it seems like 8-bit Sega got much better coverage on in Commonwealth countries and mainland Europe. Sega Game Gear owners have been hearing for months about the rumored attachment that will transform their zippy little games machine into a miniaturized TV. This was a really big deal at the time. I never saw one of these in person, and it's kind of useless now except for collector purposes due to the analog over-the-air TV signals having been turned off and replaced with digital signals. But the tuner has long been in the shops in Japan, but due to a difference between our television transmissions and theirs, their model was completely ineffective for picking up Australian PAL TV. Sega's development team had to go back to the drawing board and completely redesign the innards. Well, the wait is over because the TV tuner is upon us. They've been sent over from Japan and will be in the shops now or any moment. They'll sell at $159.99, which is fantastic. Wow, $150 just for the TV tuner? No wonder my parents had ever got me the... I mean, I don't think I ever... I mean, I never asked for a Game Gear. It's funny. I never asked for a Game Gear. My parents were... I'd see things, be interested in them, and not... There's this one story. My mom would tell you the story that... this one time we were at a mall. They had these cool color-changing markers, and there was a kiosk. And there was a lady there selling them. She was demonstrating that, oh, if you use this marker over it, the colors will change, and this and that. She was demonstrating. I'm like, oh, wow, that's cool, that's cool. And she's like, do you want them? No. And oh, my mom and she and her friend, they lost it. They lost it. Like all that hype, I was so interested. I'm like, do I want them? No. And my mom bought a set of the markers just to sort of award the salesperson for doing that pitch so perfectly. Any other kid would have just been so hyped. It was like, yeah. But my parents, they saw I was interested in it. They're like, okay, I spent a lot of time in waiting rooms time getting my hair done. Yeah, let's get him the Game Gear. Let's get him the portable version. Because when he's home, he's playing with other toys anyway, and this was the perfect choice. I don't know if I would have, my lasting love for video games would have caught on at the time it did if they had got me a home console, actually. Yeah, so that's talking. I'll just scroll through here. It's got a little Game Gear coverage. I might have a review of Sonic for Game Gear. We'll take a look at that, and then we'll do a midstream break. There's. See, here's the Japanese and the European and South American equivalent of the Genesis, the Mega Drive here. Big 16-bit branding right on the console. And beneath it is the Mega CD, which let it play games from CD-ROMs. So those games could have, they had the space for some full-motion video cutscenes. It could also play music CDs, which is a very desirable feature at the time. And you could have CD-quality audio in 16-bit games, which is a really cool... Yeah, but I won't be playing... At the time, we didn't have CD music capability in our home. We didn't have a stereo system that could play CDs until '95. So at the time, CDs was like, this is before '95. This is like '91, '92. So CDs just seemed like super futuristic to me. You know, this solid, this non, you know, because we're used to cartridges. And here's the review of Sonic the Hedgehog. Frankly, I don't want to just skip this, but we'll be playing Sonic at other points later on, so... Yeah, it was just a little short review anyway, but so... We're scrolling through the magazines, and here we have our magazine coverage for Super Mario Land, which will be coming up next. Now, I am going to, we're going to go ahead and run... Yeah, we're going to go ahead, we're going to do our midstream break. And during that time, I'm going to be running the commercials for Game Gear and the commercials for Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic on Game Gear, as well as the commercials for Super Mario Land and for the Game Boy itself. And everything we did for Sonic, we're about to do again for Super Mario Land. And Super Mario Land, I've been playing it since '95, but I don't know it like the back of my hand, quite like I do Sonic. So I need to maybe I've been drinking consistently, but I need to maybe refill my water bottle and take a break. So I'll be back in 10 minutes. Thanks for joining me so far. Actually, why don't I right now change out the category. Super Mario Land. There we go. So I will see you, and let's see, we'll set the timer for 10 minutes and go over to our break screen, and we will restart.
They said it wasn't humanly possible. All the power and excitement.
Oh, Sonic's free when you buy Game Gear. But hurry, he's moving fast. Sonic the Hedgehog from Sega.
They said it wasn't humanly possible. All the power and excitement of Nintendo right in the palm of your hand. Introducing Game Boy. It's portable, it's in stereo, and its games are interchangeable.
Alright, perfect timing just about. Let's get it back into the game. Now, so next we're going to be playing Super Mario Land, and this is not my childhood cartridge as it is for, as it was with Sonic the Hedgehog. Actually, let me swap the games out now. Now, the nice thing is that you don't have to, now this is my childhood copy of Sonic, but you don't have to turn the entire unit off. Now, this does not need the adapter, so let me take out the adapter. And there we go. And there it is, ready to go. So we're just going to drop this in the dock. There we go. And, yeah, probably not going to need that timer again, but we'll keep it handy. Now, let's get into the commercials that I was talking about. Now, whereas with Sonic the Hedgehog, it was Sonic that got me, like, there was the commercials that got me interested in video games whatsoever, got me interested in Sonic and Sega, but I remember seeing commercials, like, for Nintendo. I saw a commercial for, like, the original Legend of Zelda, like, commercials for, like, Link to the Past. I didn't really care. Well, I wouldn't have been Link to the Past. That's something I saw later, but, like, I remember just that I just was aware that there was Nintendo. I was aware of the Sega system, as it was called in the commercials. I was aware of, like, the Atari ST, I think it was, or the XE, one of those Atari computers they just try to turn into a game system and just dump on the market. But whereas with Game Boy, I was aware of it, and once I got Game Gear, and as the years went on, and I had a brother who came to live with us who was more familiar with Nintendo, I was more interested in Mario, and then but I never saw the commercials for Game Boy, the original Game Boy commercials, or for the game Super Mario Land. It's the commercial for Super Mario Land. Actually, I do have on some commercials from cartoons that my mom and grandma did record for me, but I didn't really make much of an impression on me. So let's watch the commercial for Game Boy itself.
They said it wasn't humanly possible. All the power and excitement of Nintendo right in the palm of your hand. Introducing Game Boy. It's portable, it's in stereo, and its games are interchangeable. Game Boy comes complete with batteries and the outrageous new game Tetris. And for head-to-head competition, use Video Link and blow your opponent away. Game Boy, only from Nintendo. Now you're playing with power, portable power.
All right, let's do that. Let's sort of click through and comments on the commercial now.
They said
I mean,
it wasn't humanly.
This is such, I don't know. It's funny. It's so easy to take for granted the idea of, oh, we're gonna make a commercial for Game Boy. No one knows what Game Boy is yet. The brand doesn't exist yet. The concept of portable gaming with interchangeable cartridges that's run more like a proper system than a handheld toy did not exist yet. So this is all kind of uncharted territory in terms of how to even market or explain what this is. You sort of have this post-apocalyptic futuristic wasteland, the guy in a robot costume. He does look kind of, Collective was saying they do kind of look like a off-brand RoboCop. They look like a cross between RoboCop and Captain Falcon from F-Zero, which did not exist yet at this point. F-Zero.
All the power and
yeah, but I mean, even the robot costume's cool for what it is. But he zaps this kid into existence, holding the Game Boy. It doesn't like... I mean, the more obvious writing choice would be for him to zap the Game Boy into the kid's hands. No, he zaps the kid with the Game Boy into existence. The kid's... let's assume that... Let's make up some lore. Let's say this kid maybe came from the past, and... but in which Game Boy doesn't exist. I don't know.
Introducing Game Boy. It's portable. It's in stereo, and it's
now. I like how now. Check out how he actually puts
and excitement of Nintendo right in the palm of your hand. Introducing Game Boy. It's
the fact that he actually puts the earbud on the side of his little bolt on the side of his robot helmet. Now, this is not false advertising. The original package for Game Boy did include not only the 4 AA's to start playing right away, it also included these earbuds, which is pretty consumer friendly of Nintendo, as opposed to by the 3DS era. You were lucky if they even included the power adapter. And of course, they had to spend, we're giving consumers the freedom to buy their own adapter. Yeah, right. Okay.
games are interchangeable.
Now, notice that Game Boy does not have a serial number on it. So this is a Game Boy they have just for filming this. Now, in later commercials and promotional material, they would have these special Game Boys that would have this oversized Game Boy branding on the console. No actual retail units were like that. I guess they realized that the Game Boy logo was too small on the systems and shots. They wanted to have the Game Boy logo be bigger and more noticeable for people watching at home, which would have been on standard definition small TVs, not of those CRTs, but not the good, nice CRTs we probably think of in terms of, retro gaming, high-end luxury items nowadays, but like just fuzzy old TVs that would probably coming in over Bunny Ears TV more than half the time. So they want to have the branding big for everyone to see. Now he didn't turn on the actual switch, because one thing that I've seen people don't realize this who've never actually had the system, who've never handled it themselves. But there is a cool little switch, the on switch for the little notch on the side of the cartridge. When you flip the system on, a little arm came out and prevented you from just yanking out the cartridge.
Game Boy comes complete.
No, both the boy and the robot are so excited. Look at the robot dancing around. It's so overacting because there's no eyes, there's no face, there's no mouth. So he really has to overact to show how excited he is.
The outrageous new game Tetris, and for head-to-head competition, use Video Link and blow.
I mean, Video Link multiplayer gameplay. That was the first time they had done anything like this. We connected cable. I mean, it's literally a local area network. Even though Nintendo was slow to get online with, modern online gaming, they were kind of pioneering with local area networked gaming with the Game Boy and the Link cable. I don't think the Link cable was included. That was sold separately. But batteries included. It comes with Tetris. And the decision to package this with Tetris instead of Super Mario Land, which probably would have been the more obvious choice. I've seen interviews with people involved. They're like, hey, if we package this with Super Mario Land, we'll sell it to young boys. If we package this with Tetris, we could sell it to everyone, and all the kids are gonna be buying Mario Land anyway. Now, the actual Game Boy branding, it's not something. Yeah, it's like the boy destroys his robot creator with one zap, and it's not like if he was walking around and the robot challenged him and they settled it over Game Boy instead of a shootout with laser guns. But the robot zaps the boy into existence, and then the boy zaps the robot out of existence. It's like, but the branding Game Boy, we take it so for granted after all these decades. But if you think of it, detach yourself. Game Boy, like that is such a strange way to describe a handheld game. What does that mean? We know Game Boy because of the product, but Game and Boy, they had to build that brand. They had to make that mean something. Oh, Cereal Royals, you just ordered ramen? All right, it'll probably won't get here when we're too far into the game. But, yeah, we're talking about... Actually, I ordered sushi back on, I think, the 9th. I ordered some avocado cucumber sushi, which was really cool. And also some inari with seaweed. But, yeah, they had to make the phrase Game Boy mean something. And if the Game Boy branding, it's partially a riff on the Walkman branding. And the Walkman, another Japanese brand from a Japanese manufacturer, were walk, man. What does walk and man? What is that? Those two words mean nothing in relation to a portable cassette player with attachable headphones. Sony made Walkman mean a portable music player. Game Boy arguably has more to do with what the actual device does than Walkman does. But Walkman, Game Boy, they're obviously riffing off of Game Boy a bit. But there's this element in Japan where the English word boy kind of means small or miniature. So, yeah, it's a game and the primary audience is young boys. But also, it sounds better than Game Man, which is, very easy to, if you say that 3 or 4 times fast, it's easy to start, finding things you could poke fun at with that if you want to be a little churlish. But yeah, Game Boy, the sense of the English word boy in Japan meaning small or miniature, because also in one of the Sentai series, the Super Sentai series, I think it was Flashman, introduced there was the Super Sentai. He was famous for their giant robot battles. Their giant mech battles, and they introduced a smaller mech. There was the main mech was called the Flash Titan, and then there was a smaller mech called the Titan Boy. And so the implication to the viewers is like, oh, it's a small version of the Flash Titan, so it's the Titan Boy. So by Game Boy, it's implying like a small game. So that sense is a bit lost, and at the same time, it isn't lost in English. So we'll go on to this commercial for Game Boy, the commercial for Super Mario Land was running by the time I was watching cartoons, because I was definitely on some tapes of cartoons that I watched that I still have. But so we'll watch this. Yeah, Nintendo Seal of Quality. Now bringing that. Now you're playing with power branding into the Game Boy side of things. But we'll watch the commercial for Mario Land now.
Yes, and Mario is your only hope. Team up with him in the new Super Mario Land. Guide him on the Nintendo Game Boy. Challenge the mysteries and terrors of ancient Egypt. Battle all the horrors of the deep. Master lots of weird worlds to give Mario a happy ending and make your world a better place. New Super Mario Land, another exciting game for Game Boy. Nintendo, now you're playing with power. Portable power.
Now let's...
To give Mario a happy ending.
Now, the genius element of this ad is, you can tell I have a bit of a background in advertising and writing copy for commercials, but did I grow up watching the Super Mario Super Show? Boy, I did not. I knew of it, but I was not into games at the time. I had no particular interest in Nintendo or Mario, so I really kind of just ignored it. It was just on, as well as the Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3 and the Super Mario World cartoon. I really just kind of ignored them at the time. I won't say too much, but what I will say is definitely stay tuned to my my Tuesday streams. This coming Tuesday, next Saturday, I'll be playing Super Mario Bros. For NES for the first time on stream. You're definitely going to want to check out my stream on Tuesday. It'll be related to Super Mario Bros. That's all I'm going to say. And it's not the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, but it's something special, something I do believe I can get away with streaming here, but it is not something I'll be leaving the VOD up for. So if you're able to catch that live, that's something you'll definitely want to be doing. But getting back to the commercial, we've got Super Mario Land, and the fantastic thing about the writing and the concept for this commercial is that they decided, hey, Game Boy is in black and white. The game is going to be black and white. We're not going to hide from that. We're going to embrace that in the advertising by using the stock footage from old black and white science fiction and adventure movies. So, and Super Mario Land does have, the main villain isn't Bowser, it's Tatanga, a space alien. There's themes of, there are levels based in ancient Egypt. There's a lot of flying saucer imagery and alien imagery. So they use black and white footage from movies that have themes like that and insert Mario in here. Now, look at these primitive computer animated CG Mario. But I love how when he shoots the UFOs, it actually shows the sparks flying off of the UFOs. And and there's levels where Mario is flying in an airplane, and they cut straight to Mario. The footage of Mario fighting flying saucers in an airplane in this movie, they cut straight to the same thing happening in the game. That's fantastic. Yeah, so you have an ancient Egyptian movie, and they cut to him fighting a Sphinx. You have an underwater, octopus horror, sort of sci-fi horror movie. But I love the animation for Mario and Daisy is so, it almost looks like claymation because the CG animation is so primitive. So, alright, it's time to get into the game itself. Now, you have two options for how you want to view the game. You have this version, where you're in a Game Boy, we have a Game Boy frame, and then we also have the full screen option here. And you, in chat, get to choose with your channel points which version I will be playing. Just by if you look in your the channel point redeems, you could choose between this version or this version. Now, by default, by default I'll be going with this version because I did have the framed version for Game Gear. So we'll start with this version. Now, while the track screen is running, I'll talk a little bit about my background for Super Mario Land. It was 95. It was 1995, and my aunt, who lived on the other side lived very far away, the longest plane ride I'd ever been on, and my aunt worked for an airline, and when people passengers or their kids left behind their electronics and belongings, they were held in lost and found for a long period of time, and after that, oh, okay, all right, so, Edelheid Vine Amberg, actually, what I'm gonna do, since I'm already on, hey there, I'm gonna be super nice. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna refund you your channel points for that, because I'm already on the Game Boy frame. So if you want to switch off of that, you could spend your 1,000 channel points. But because I was already gonna start off with that theme, I'm gonna refund you. I'm not rejecting you like I don't want to do it. No, I am already on there, so I could be mean and keep the channel points because I need them. I got bills to pay, but I'm gonna send them back to you. Thanks for participating, though. I'm sure I'm gonna try out little things but anyway, my aunt worked for an airline, and after like about a year, I think the items that were left behind by passengers were auctioned off or raffled off to employees. So she got a Game Boy, several Game Boys, a full library of games, like a dozen or more games, as well as an extra Game Gear. I already had one, and a bunch of other games. And I had a little experience with Game Boy, but I never got to sit down and really try and play it. Interesting stories I could tell about that, not on stream. Nothing scandalous, but it's just like another out in the woods kind of story. But I never wanted Game Boy. I wouldn't have asked for one, but I was interested in, what's Nintendo like? All my friends seem to have Sega. What's Nintendo like? What's Game Boy like? I know it's black and white. You can't really see the screen so well compared to Game Gear, but I'm still interested in it. So, yeah, thank you, my dear aunt, who won all this raffle. Either raffles or auctions. The point is she got it for absolute pittance. So, my mother and we flew out to her house, and we stayed for a week. And I was excited the whole way there, because I've got a Game Boy waiting on me and a bunch of games. So we get there. My aunt has the Game Boy ready. She's got and these are pre-owned, so they're not brand new, but I didn't care. And so imagine going from having, as a kid, you might get one for your birthday, one for, Christmas or for Easter or something like that, or maybe for Hanukkah, but so you might get 2 or 3 games a year. Go from a new system and at least a dozen games. And the first game I wanted to try was Super Mario Land. I remember sitting in the sunlit living room with a lot of big windows. It was in Florida, so there's lots of natural sunlight coming in. It was in the summertime. Sunlight shining through the windows. I turned it on, and here we go. And that's my backstory for... Is the controller connected? Is improperly. There we go. Now I see the little light. There we go. Yeah, how did I acquire all these Game Boy titles back in the day? No, pretty much, everything I started off with was given to me by my aunt on the same day I got the system itself. Okay, there we go. That's more like it. Yeah, so a Game Boy and, it was 3 Game Boys, so it was probably 3 sets of games that came with it. And so, actually, one thing I need to do, I need to adjust the volume of my capture card, because I'm glad I remembered that. So Sonic the Hedgehog on the Analog Pocket, I have set at negative 20 decibels. I need to set Super Mario Land at negative 24.5 decibels. So let me go over to... Yeah. What is that? Negative 24.5. So I have to actually turn the sound down a bit. Yeah. Alright, that's more like it. Now we can get started. Yeah, and so... I really didn't know that was supposed to be a pipe. That's how little I knew about Mario at the time. And the graphics are so... Game Boy is capable of so much more than these graphics. Yeah, so like that right there, that's the first time I saw Mario grow larger when he touched a mushroom. I learned, oh, that's good. I didn't know that, I forgot which pipes let you do that, but I didn't know that those were pipes. I thought they were flower pots, especially since in the later stages you see the piranha plants. Now, it was actually when I got back to New York and I let my brother play, he tried ducking into the pipes, and he actually showed me, oh, you could go into the pipes. I didn't know that. I didn't know you could go into those. I didn't know they were even supposed to be pipes. Because I wasn't aware of much Mario lore. Now, I did remember seeing the Super Mario Brothers movie when it came out on home video. For some reason, my mom and dad rented it from the video store, and even though I didn't ask for it, and I kind of... Now, you see, I can see I got that fire flower there. Now, I want to hear a cute story. When I first made well, actually, excuse me, it's a Super Ball flower in this version. But when I first made that appear, my thought was, oh, it's a flower. I'm not going to bother it or step on it because it's bad to step on flowers. I don't want to lose points by stepping on the flowers. So I actually left it alone, and it wasn't until I accidentally collided with the flower, and then I realized, oh, I can shoot stuff now. Yeah, so this level, I didn't have the manual for this game. Some of the games I have manuals for, not this one. So I didn't know the names. That the four worlds in this game are called Birabuda, Muda, Easton, and Chai. Birabuda is believed to be a sort of... Yeah, there's the manual was only like partially translated for some reason. And Birabuda is basically the English, like the Japanese form of the English word pyramid. So it's basically supposed to be pyramida. And it got turned into Birabuda, then turns literally back in English as Birabuda, which has no meaning to English speakers who don't know the Japanese. But so this is a level based on ancient Egypt. We've got some Sphinx statues here. Oh, I don't know this game like in the back of my hand like I do for Sonic. So I'm actually have you ever had a Burger King Whopper meal? You know, like growing up, like back when I used to eat beef, like it was always really I was more of a McDonald's kind of kid. We'd go to Burger King when there was a Burger King around, but it was really more a brand loyalty to McDonald's. Now, once I stopped eating beef, it became a lot easier to eat at Burger King because they had a vegetarian version of the Whopper that they didn't actually call it a Whopper. They think they called it just BK Veggie or something like that. But it was the same loadout in terms of like, you know, the mayo, the sauce, and the onions. It was the same loadout as the Whopper. So it made it a lot easier when I was hanging out with friends and we wanted to go to the drive-thru and you know, go somewhere and play games. This is like around college times, you know. It was a lot easier just to go to... Oh my goodness, I kicked the bucket. Good thing this isn't a perfect... yeah, good thing this isn't a single credit run. Yeah, so... And then it's kind of funny when they announced the Impossible Whopper a few years ago. It's weird that's already a few years ago. I saw there were all these like dramatic outrage posts on social media, which is why social media is trash anyway. But even though I'm on it, so what does that say about me? But there were all these people that all had certain leanings that were outraged that, like, oh, I'm boycotting Burger King because they're pandering to vegans now and they're abandoning me and whatever. And it's like, there's been a vegetarian version of the Whopper at every single Burger King since like 2002 or 3. And it wasn't a problem for you because you weren't aware of it. Now that they just changed the recipe and the branding and just announced that they were doing it, now that you're aware there's a vegetarian version of the Whopper, now you're offended and it's an affront against you personally. Meanwhile, like the last like decade before that, there was the same thing available and it just wasn't an issue. So, it's funny how people think sometimes. Now, I remember, this game tends to have, oh, you have a reproduction cart of this game in color you need to play. You tend to collect games and not play them. Well, I mean, when you collect games, that's something that often happens. Now, I know if the reproduction cart you have of the that fan modified version, there's the original version of the game that was circulating. You've been eating a lot of fried chicken lately? Huh. I know, like, even as a kid, I wasn't super big into fried chicken. If it was around, I'd eat it. But I know, like, for KFC, I always liked the mashed... This is back when I ate chicken. I was always more interested in the mashed potatoes and the mac and cheese than the fried chicken. And plus, no one fought over the mac and cheese and mashed potatoes, whereas, you know, everyone got fought. Oh, you ate the last honey wing, da-da-da. Or it's like, meanwhile, I'm just having my mashed potatoes and my... Now, darn it. Now, I'm actually going to, unlike Sonic the Hedgehog, where me beating the game is a given, now, the last time I played this game, the only time I played this game on stream, I did beat it in my first sitting. But I cannot beat this game on demand. I'll have to focus a lot more to actually successfully play through this game. Man, the graphics, especially with the washed out green look of this game, it really goes well with this ancient Egyptian theming. You love a fried chicken. Clackaboy saying they love fried chicken sandwich with macaroni and cheese and salad biscuits with mashed potatoes and gravy. It sounds like you got all the fixins. I don't know if you're eating that now or if that's something you've been having lately, but they really nailed the ancient Egyptian tomb theme. And yeah, Clackaboy. Excuse me. We'll wait till this guy comes out. Grab the bonus points for him. And yeah, the initial version of the initial colorized fan hack of Super Mario Land, it's not just that they colorized it. Yep. And when you play this on Game Boy, you could tell the bricks that are going to fall have a slightly different color to them. It's an unintended effect that sort of lets you cheat. But here, I don't have the specific hazards memorized because I haven't played this in quite a while. But now here are a couple. Now you can see the two bricks on top. You can see them move a little bit. Yeah, the initial ROM hack of Color Super Mario Land, I like that they added the colors, but my problem was that they altered Mario's sprite. What is that? What is that? I've never seen that before in my life. I have no idea what that is. I have no idea what it does. I love video games. Oh, it's an elevator. Oh, it takes me to the top. I'm running up across the scoreboard. Is there a minus world up here? Oh, doggone, I didn't mean to accidentally enter the pipe. I can only enter it once, huh? No. Well, it's a nice little secret to find. Yeah, they altered Mario's sprite. They made it bigger, and they made it more detailed. And it's like, okay, they're trying to enhance the game, but it's like, that... Adding color is one thing. Huh. I just noticed something. I noticed something new in this game for the first time. Now, when you jump, look at Mario's sprite when he jumps. I'm going to jump to the larger screen so you can see a little better. But when you look at him when he jumps, then when he jumps at it with moving, but look, when I hold the down on the arrow, on the plus control pad and move, he moves with this, he has like this gravity jump to him. I don't know if any other Mario game has that. That's interesting. They animated a different Mario sprite for it. That's really interesting. No, I don't like the fact that they altered it so that Clackaboy, yours has the altered Mario sprite. You know, there's an update that has a regular Mario sprite. You need to get another reproduction card with the update. Yeah, that one version, I think it's made by the same people because I think they got a lot of complaints. I guess. And I don't want to just complain when people, you know, as out of their own interest and passions. Oh my gosh, we've taken too long. You've got to beat the boss. Alright, let's beat this stage. Yeah, I don't know, just because this game has such a primitive, even for Game Boy, because Super Mario Land 2, like, going from Super Mario Land and then just minutes later playing Super Mario Land 2, that's the moment, one of the first times I noticed, oh, this game has... I didn't think in terms of the graphics are better. That term wasn't in my vocabulary yet, but just... Mario is bigger. I noticed he was more detailed. I noticed the Goombas. I didn't even know they were called Goombas, but I noticed these bonus stages are actually important, because later in the game I actually am going to take a lot of deaths. Alright, cool. Now, this area is called Muda, which is based on Bermuda, and with the sort of Bermuda Triangle phenomena and lore, we've got a flying saucer that Mario was sort of beamed down from. Yeah, so I don't want to just diss people who tried to, oh, let's make an enhanced version of this game, what it would be like if this game did get a DX remake with the added color. I don't want to just diss on them or hate on them for their hard work, but I really think because this game has such a primitive graphical style, such a distinct graphical style, making that more detailed Mario sprite that looks so out of place with the rest of what's in the game in terms of the sprite work, I don't think it was a good choice. And I think giving the option to have the original sprite was the best in between. Now, let's see. Can I... Alright. How can I get... Can I... Yeah, you can collect coins with the Super Ball, and you're actually... let's go ahead. We don't want to spend too much time down here. We do have a time limit. Yeah, the first time I saw that flower, I was like, oh, it's a flower. I don't want to step on it. And so I didn't know for a while that you could get... Yeah, for some reason, I remember there was a point in my life where I'd have lots of dreams about Mario running around in this area with these really simplistic graphics bridges. Yeah, and this is the first Mario platformer that did not involve... that Shigeru Miyamoto had basically no involvement in it. Why they chose the can-can for the invincibility theme, I can't say. Alright. Now, if we... Actually, if we run over here... Alright, we got all those coins. We're running low on time. Let's finish this stage out. Oh my goodness! I actually lost my mushroom there. My fire flower. Alright. So we're going into the boss stage. The third stage. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I just thought of that. Yeah, like, the melody is in the public domain, but Nintendo has the rights to their own music for the traditional dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun theme, so it's just one of those quirky decisions they made. Now, that's something interesting I just considered for the very first time in my entire life. With Sonic the Hedgehog on Game Gear, they had 2 normal platforming stages, and the third stage of each zone was nothing but the boss fight with Robotnik, which was sort of a downgrade from the Genesis version where you got 3 full-fledged platforming stages per zone. At the end of the third platforming stage, you fought Robotnik. Whereas in Super Mario Land, you got 3... No, actually, no. This is only the first world. Why did I think this was World 2-2? I don't know why. But in Super Mario Land, you actually get a full-fledged platforming stage and a boss fight. So that's interesting. I wonder... That's what kind of an unexpected way that the less advanced Game Boy Super Mario Land kind of outclassed the Game Boy, the Game Gear with Sonic. Whew. I don't know why I thought that was World 2 too. Now, as a kid, now I gotta focus. All right, I'll get at least one extra life. Between the fact that this game did not save... Now, if that robot shoots off his head, if you can destroy the head separately from the robot itself. Oh, okay, I was afraid I wouldn't have quite the right momentum to safely collect the coin. Now, if you notice, the, Yeah, the Koopas don't leave shells behind. They sort of explode after a few seconds. Alright. Alright. The weather's... where I'm at, it's, you know, I'm not in a subtropical region anymore, so we do get a little more wintry weather. But it hasn't been so severe. It's, cold enough that, back on the 9th when I ordered that sushi, when I went downstairs to collect the sushi from the delivery guy, because the delivery food drivers, they bring the food to the lobby, and then the tenants have to go downstairs to pick it up. Oh my goodness, why? Yeah, between the fact that the game did not save, and yeah, between the game... Oh my gosh, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Why did I do that? I wasn't even trying to rush. I don't even know why I fell. But I understand this time of year in California, it's lots of rainy, sort of cloudy kind of weather. Alright. We're not going to get bamboozled this time. Alright. Yeah, that's one thing that's nice. In Sonic the Hedgehog, they are clearly delineated checkpoints, not so much with this game. No! I fouled it up. That's the first, You're watching the stream on CRT today? Oh, I'm sure this game must look amazing on CRT. In fact, recently I found I reposted this level I very rarely got to. I definitely didn't get to within the first several months of me owning the game. I had to practice and get really good at the game, and be in a situation where I didn't have to, you know, turn off the game to go somewhere like, oh, you know, we're at the store. Go ahead and turn the game off. Or what, anything like that. Because yeah, so they included side-scrolling shooter stages. We're playing a shoot 'em up now with all these. We're in the islands of Bermuda, and there's waters. There are UFOs parked underwater, going with the sort of... Yeah, when those octopuses or the octopi are destroyed, they release not one, but two little projectiles. Yeah, so and there's no... You have to keep mashing the button, so it's a bit it looks great on the CRT. I'm glad. Yeah, I really... When I go back to the region I last lived in, hey, look, Mario spelled out in coins. I really do look forward... An extra life, we're gonna need that later on in the game. But I really do look forward to picking up my CRT. They're playing my my original systems on. So basically... This is the first time I got here, my heart was racing. I never gotten this far. I just ran straight over here and just hit the switch. Now, similar to the axe in Super Mario Brothers and the Bowser boss fights, if you hit that switch, the boss will instantly be destroyed and you can advance to the next stage. Yeah, only once back in the 90s, only one time did I get this far. And man, that world 3-1, it's cool finally seeing bullet bills and stuff like that. Things I knew were iconic to Mario, but I never really saw much in this particular game before. Alright. Doggone. Well, actually, I did need that. I did need that. I'd rather have gotten the 1-ups, but... Oh my gosh. Are you... Alright, so now we're in Easton, which is themed after Easter Island with the Moai heads in the background. We got see, look, I wouldn't have even needed. See, we got some, I guess, donut lifts here. Oh, look, we have actual... This is something they didn't do in the little pipe areas in the original game. They've got... I mean, in Super Mario Brothers. They've got actual spike hazards in the pipe areas. Now, the pipe areas aren't actual shortcuts that take you to later in the stage in this version, so... Yeah, the fireballs don't... The super balls don't seem to affect them. And we're up to 92 coins. We really do want to grab a few more so we can get a 1-up. Now this is some platforming right here. This is textbook platforming. Okay. Alright, now the Super Ball lets me collect the coins that are down there that otherwise would be kind of a death trap. Alright, only one more coin to collect and we'll get an extra life. Now, we have to keep that extra life through the end of this stage or else we've been sort of clowned. Okay, alright, cool. That looked like a moment where I was going to get clowned, but I had the momentum. Yeah, the bullet bill launchers jump out of pipes in this game. And the 3DS translation of the manual, they're known as bullet biffs, not bullet bills. Woo! Little hyper guy running around. Okay. Woo! Gotcha. Yeah, so lots of, whew. Now, we got 18 coins. Alright, we're gonna take you out. Okay, we avoided him. He went off screen. Whew, that was a little bit of a risk. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, alright. Oh, if I could... Oh! No, I'm not good. Oh no! Doggone. Lost my fire flower. Yeah, this level, this... Calm your buns, little boy. Okay. We're almost to the end of the stage. We've got to be. Oh no! We took a death there. Alright. It didn't help that I was rushing. That's... Man, this is the... Like, in regular Super Mario Bros., generally, don't feel rushed by the time limit. Oh no! So that... Maybe my hand's sweating a bit on the controller? How did I so easily... Oh, okay, there we go. There we go. Alright. Alright. Okay, we got... Yeah, those rocks will damage Mario. And the rocks are actually... They're called Ganchans, according to the manual, and are listed as enemies, even though there's nothing in particular to signify them as a living creature. No! Okay. Alright, we made it. Okay. No! Of course we couldn't get a mushroom from that. This is about where we got to before we choked last time. Oh no! Oh no! I was right at the... That happened entirely because I got greedy. Okay, at least there's another checkpoint. And I bet that last thing right there would have actually given me. Wow. It's kind of generous of them. Okay. Please. No, it went off screen. I can't reach it now. Alright. Gotta win a couple of those lives back. but oh well. Okay. Alright, we're good. Now this is... I never got this far in the game as a kid. At all. Open none of you were afraid of spiders. Yeah, that... Oh no, that was just clumsy. Hey, Red Queen Rhonda. I'm doing alright. Yeah, we're playing Super Mario Land earlier today. Where is it? I put it down somewhere. Oh yeah. We're playing my childhood copy of Super Mario World. No, Super Mario World. Sonic the Hedgehog. And now we're playing Super Mario Land. Sort of a 90s pocket-sized grudge match between the titans of Nintendo and Sega on the titans of handheld and portable gaming at the time. I'm much more familiar. We already beat Sonic the Hedgehog. Well, we watched the commercials for Sonic in general, then the commercial for Sonic, then we watched the commercial for specifically for the Game Gear version. I remember the commercial for the initial commercial for Sonic. I don't remember the commercial for the Game Gear version specifically, but the commercial for Sonic is really what made me... I really did not care about video games. Not that I disliked them. I just knew they existed, and I knew I wasn't that interested. At least we got them. At least we got them. Woo! Now, if they wanted to be butts and put a falling hazard there... Now, I'm having a great time. Throat's a little dry, but I'm good at keeping my hydration up. Alright, no mushrooms here. This is where the game starts being stingy. This game isn't that long. And oh my gosh, that made me panic. That took me by surprise, that falling spike. I knew there was somewhere in the game, in the stage, but I didn't know exactly where, so... Alright. Yeah, so we looked at the commercials for Sonic, and then we played through Sonic on Game Gear, using my own childhood copy, which I'm glad to still have in my possession. And then after all of that, we read some magazine coverage of the Game Gear version of Sonic, and we're gonna do the same. We looked at the commercials for Game Boy and Super Mario Land right before we played this. And once we're done with Super Mario Land, we're going to look at the some magazine coverage of Super Mario Land. You're eating a traditional Japanese meal? You know, I need to go into my Postmates app and check out and see what places around here deliver ramen. I have not had delivered ramen. Well, I've never had delivered ramen before. Oh my goodness. I've never had delivered ramen before. I've had delivered sushi, but that place doesn't serve ramen. I've had instant ramen, which, if you actually get some fresh vegetables and some sesame oil, you know, chop up some green onions, you can actually dress up instant ramen pretty well. If you actually dress it up and season it yourself, you don't use the little salt packet they give you. But I've never thought... The only true, traditional ramen I've ever had is at this place on West 4th and Mercer in New York City called Dojo. And I have been eating there since I was literally a baby. Wow, I was not expecting there to be a bonus area down here. What's my favorite meal to cook? Well, once I have a kitchen, once I have a larger apartment with a proper kitchen, I'd be ordering... I love breakfast food. Well, I love eating breakfast food, but at one point, I was just grabbing some random vegetables out of the produce department back when I last had a kitchen, and I just chop them up and just grill them, or fry them up in a little tiny bit of oil. Okay, here we go. No, I bombed it. Down to 10 lives. What's my favorite meal to cook? I guess breakfast food, because I love eating it the most, but I look forward to getting, a meal plan program like Blue Apron or something like that. Next time and don't let all those rules scare you. Basically, just don't be a butt and don't violate Twitch TOS and you'll be fine. I just had to... There's a point where I got a couple of interesting characters in here, and I had to, oh my goodness, spell that out for them. But I'm gonna simplify my rules coming up. I guess the writer in me, the writer of copy in me, likes to maybe go a little overboard with my writing sometimes when I don't have a... But then at the same time, a lot of the writing I do is very concerned with the character limit. Like, I spent a while just coming up with a title for this stream. Have I ever had Popeyes, like the chicken place? Growing up in New York, there was... not until, like, the 2000s was Popeyes a common thing to be seen. It was usually more about... You'd usually see KFC, not Popeyes. And then when I did see... First saw Popeyes Chicken. It was in, like, a Popeyes Chicken open in Rockaway. Down... and I was kind of confused. I'm like... I don't know if Popeyes in any way, shape, or form is a tie-in with the comic and cartoon character, but I'm like... Popeyes? Like... I don't think of chicken when I think of Popeye. I think of spinach when I think of Popeye. This looks like it should be... There should be... Yes, okay. It looked like it, and there was. Alright. We need to start winning back some lives. Okay, we got a... Oh, we got a boss fight coming up at the end of the stage. I hope we can find a mushroom. You know what? My strategy for the boss might be just to rush past him. They have the best chicken sandwich. I know at one point... I know there's, their chicken sandwich is highly regarded as far as fast food chicken sandwiches go, and what? You buttholes! You buttholes putting that there! That is so mischievous! That is some... That is some tookus action right there. That is really, really rude. And, that had nothing to do with me being a bad player. That was just some nonsense. Sonic the Hedgehog doesn't have anything like that in it. And I know a lot of the twists and turns of that, but it's like, okay, here, okay, you have to fall swiftly. Oh, okay, there, I'll accept that death. I just have to be better at the game. But that little block being there, when they knew where you'd be jumping from, that was unreasonable. That was some... I haven't played Mega Man 2, but I've seen some moments from Mega Man 2 where it's like, oh, you little stinkers. How could you do that? Oh, darn it. I stuck the landing, and then I just, like, sort of fidgeted a bit. Oh, my goodness. At least we're nearly... Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. We're almost up to 100 lives, too. What do I want for dinner after stream? If I'm... I ate not long before I started, but I might, open up... Oh, this is... Man, this game... Okay, we got it. Now we have to fight the boss. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I just might go ahead and or open up my Postmates app and see if I could find a place that delivers ramen. Now, fortunately, the mushroom does not expire. I just have to wait for a safe... They're traveling at almost the same speed. Okay, there we go. I have to wait till a safe moment where I could go and grab the mushroom, which I did. Yeah, I will order... See if I could order some ramen. That would be nice. If there's any place that does deliver, I don't know. And then I have to actually go downstairs and get it. Yeah, but there's this place on West 4th and Mercer. I'm YOLOing this. Okay. I'm just going for it. I gotta try to... I mean, I don't... Well, actually, that's all you could really do. Because I don't have, I agree that forums are better than Discord. And what concerns me about... I mean, I like Discord for the... I like it more for instant messaging stuff. for messaging, like, people as, like, sort of an instant messenger program with dealing with one or two people. But when it comes time to, as a forum, it's like, well, first off, the functionality is a bit, eh. Okay, I have to focus. I really need these lives right now. Okay, I got one. Better than nothing. And so now we're in this kingdom is based on ancient China. Let me take some water. But what concerns me about Discord, well, the fact that it's partially owned by Tencent, but then aside from that, the fact that the entire concept of every site, all these communities used to have their own unique forums. The only really vibrant forums that still exist are forums that happen to have, like, the IGN forums. That still exists. That's still active and vibrant. The only forums that still exist are forums that have been around for more than a decade at this point, or like holdovers from the old days. Those are the only forums that are still active these days and viable. It's trying to start a forum, asking the nerve of asking someone to actually register for a forum, like, and have to make their own login information. Just make a Discord. Like, it's so obsolete. It's like forums now are like seem like a horse and carriage. But I don't like the idea that the entire concept of everything that forums represented to internet culture has been replaced by basically just two sites and/or /services. The entire concept of forums has been replaced almost entirely by Reddit and Discord. And well, first off, I really don't like the way Reddit's formatted. I don't like the way in which it's... I mean, yeah, there's... having a rating system, it's not... Now, these are based on, as I believe, those characters are based on Chinese vampire mythology. So they actually do jump back to life after several seconds. But I feel like it's keeping... If Discord goes down, that's like such a massive percentage of people's ability to communicate in a community format over the internet. If Reddit goes down, or maybe if a bad company or if something happens like with Elon Musk, with Twitter, to Discord or to Reddit, those sites could be so severely damaged in their utility, their enjoyability to be used. And I don't have a grudge against Elon Musk. There are people who wanted, like, there are people who, like, he could, like, cure cancer, and there are people who would complain about it because it's Elon Musk. I'm not like that. When he does projects that are successful, like you know, space, all this space exploration stuff has been fantastic. But there are people say, no, that doesn't count, or no, like that doesn't mean anything. I'm like, okay, just because you don't like him personally doesn't mean you have to dislike anything associated with him. So it's not like I had a grudge against Elon Musk when he bought Twitter. That being said, a lot of the things Elon Musk, that I known him to complain about with Twitter, have only been made worse by decisions he's made since becoming... Oh my gosh, I did not even get to keep that mushroom for 10 seconds. I have 6 lives. I only have 2... If I can get through this next stage, not this current stage, but the one after it, if I get through that stage, I know I'll beat the game without having to use any continues. Yeah, so I just feel like it's putting all your eggs in just a couple of baskets. And I just think the way old forums were structured and formatted was so much more elegant, so much more useful than the way, like, Reddit especially, but Discord too to an extent, were formatted. You know, but you have to go to where the people are. If I ever make it to, say, like, a dozen average viewers, I will go ahead and post links to a Stupid Train Station H Discord. But with my current audience and the current flow of my community, I don't think it's really necessary. But if we make it to a dozen average viewers, I think that's something I would like to do. And I'm happy with the audience I have. I'm honored and humbled that anyone's interested in watching me. So not say like, oh, if only I had a dozen, or oh, like some people will be like, I'll watch videos on like, oh, how to make it on Twitch, how to grow on Twitch, and so forth, and they'd be like, are you tired of being a small Twitch streamer with only 50 to 100 average viewers? And I'm like, are you kidding me? That would be like massive to me, and I'm happy with, you know, the viewers I have now. I'm happy. I hoped someone would watch me, but actually seeing it happen, actually having people watch me, pretty much from the beginning. Sierra was saying, you rock, man, you're gonna blow up and be a top streamer for the website this year. I feel it. Hey, let's see if we can make it happen. However far I make it, I'd just like to thank my lurkers and my active chat. Oh my goodness. I got lucky that a moment was calibrated to allow for me to walk over that. I shouldn't put an embedded Twitch stream in the SDSH website. That would be. I'm not sure. I wonder how much it would take to do an embedded Twitch stream on the website. That would be interesting, because I know at one point I was able, like, Twitter. It's not as open. I'm sure it's even less open now that under Elon Musk's leadership. But there was a point where I have to check to make sure it's not broken. I don't think it works anymore, or if it did, I think I removed it. There was a point where Twitter was so open, I was able to just embed it in the page, and it wasn't even framed. It just looked like part of the web page. Like I was just posting instant messages to a web page. Alright, you little... Okay, you little buttholes. Oh my goodness. This is called the end of game gauntlet. Oh, yeah, you just run straight over those. You have to jump from brick to brick. But, no, there's things I'm looking at to create a Super Train Station H website, a new version of it, or maybe ways I could more frequently update the current. Because there's certain features on my... Actually, I'll just go ahead and... Yeah, I'll show you... Let's see, where is... writing tools. Okay. Just want to copy the link, post it in chat. Yeah, so I have a tag on my Tumblr blog called HWriteStuff. A lot of those features I might like to spruce up and go ahead and put on static web pages on the SuperTrainStationH.com website in the future. Or to a new website of a similar style to SuperTrainStationH.com, we'll see. Yes! I'm getting better at the timing for these. Yeah, like, it's funny how that stereotypical Chinese and Egyptian music they use in this game, like, I wonder where that even comes from, where the notion of associating of those little motifs, musical motifs with ancient Egypt and with China. You gotta bomb him, you gotta hit him and run before he blows up. Okay. Of course there's no mushroom. Oh my goodness. There we go. Oh my goodness. What a gauntlet of projectiles. Oh my goodness, I took him out just in time. Oh, what a cute little snack. Oh, I forgot to record. Did I hit record? No, I did not hit record. Well, I'll just have to play the game. I'll have to stream it some other time now. And I guess I will have to start playing this more. I mean, once I beat... Like, this would be a masterful feat. This would be a superhuman feat to my childhood self at the time I was first playing this game. I'd never gotten this far in the game ever. Back in the day. Not until... Actually, yeah, not until modern times have I actually... And the first time I actually just played through this from beginning to end... Oh my goodness. I would have had a mushroom right there. And I just got bamboozled. Oh, hey, at least we're starting back at the beginning. Which is, oh no, it's not back at the beginning. It was just a similar looking area. Now I have to take the lower route. It's probably more hazardous. If you're not impatient. Okay, there we go. Oh, that was silly. Lucky number 7. Can we keep 7 lives for the rest of this playthrough? Now, from what I remember, the final stage is another shooter level, but it's pretty much, like, it's very easy. It's not challenging or difficult in any significant way. Even the final boss, I don't remember ever dying to it but then again, by the time I got up to the final boss, I was already an adult gamer with lots of skills under their belt. If you walk a little further. Boing. That was easy. Alright. Oh, I have 7 viewers now, too. Yeah, I see that there. I'll be honest, I don't take too much stuff. Like, there may be an 8th viewer already, and it won't update for another minute. Now, the way my mindset, some people, they get really depressed. They get so stressed out looking at. See, look, it jumped from 7 to 9. I don't see, like, that 9th viewer could have been there 2 minutes ago. So some people, and it breaks my heart to see this, but I'll see a streamer. I'll try to go into streamers occasionally with 0 or 1 viewer. Just support them a little, talk to them a bit. I'll walk in, I'll see someone, they don't look happy. They're sitting there playing the game silently, not saying anything, there's nothing going on. And then I'll say something, I'll say hi to them, they won't notice. Or they'll be looking at their viewer count and they're like, oh, there's no one watching now, so there's no point in me saying anything. And so me or someone else will walk in, they're not saying anything, they leave. Then a minute later, their viewer count actually updates to have a viewer. Like, oh, I have a viewer. Oh, hi, everybody. I'm so-and-so. I like to stream Variety, or I like to stream Fortnite, or whatever. And it's too late. They already lost the potential new community member. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm not going to let this game bamboozle me. Oh, my goodness. Okay, good. Oh, that was a slick move right there. Yeah, that game is trying to bamboozle me. Placing that invincibility flower there, they're trying to bamboozle me into trying to rush to charge through enemies, and in doing so, lose a life to some clumsy platforming. And I ain't gonna let that happen. Man, I got scared. I thought that Super Ball was an enemy projectile. Oh my goodness. Goodness. Okay, we need to take that guy out. There we go. Alright, little snake. The snake is adorable. Yeah, I tried to... Yeah, so it's so like, people, like, it's so unfortunate seeing people get into streaming and they don't... there are many ways to do it, there are many mindsets to do it. Some people, they have to learn, I have to turn off my view count, in order to be able to not be distracted. For me, I don't mind. My view count's there, I don't take too much stock in it. It's good to be aware of what's going on for me, but I'm not taking, like, if it says 0, I have to assume, and plus people have a weird way of looking at your viewers. 8 people, that's more than you can, that's like a full SUV full of people that are sitting there spending time with you, watching you play a game, or listening to you play a game, at least you talk about it. Like, one person, like, imagine doing anything, like, oh my goodness, we're almost, okay, we gotta, boing, 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 oh no, that was so close, I almost got into the bonus stage, but we definitely don't need, we're definitely good. The final stage is a shooter, so we're no longer at risk. I mean, I'll be shocked if I take even 1 death here. And I say that, of course, to tempt fate and hopefully bring in some tension. But, yeah, so the submarine that we used in World 3.3, No, World 2, 3. That was called the Marine Pop. And this airplane is called the Sky Pop. I love these cute little cartoon airplanes with their googly eyes. Oh, and we got a 1 up there. Those little sparkling things, I think those are just known as glitter, according to the manual. I think it's one of those just partially translated elements. Oh, we can destroy glitter. Normally those are invulnerable to bullets. Alright. You got some little navigational hazards to navigate here. Those stupid octopuses that release the, I think there's a lot of interesting, enemies set up down here. Now, you can't get crushed. You will lose a life. Let me pause. Let me wipe my hands off of my jeans, because I have the sweaty palm thing going on. Right towards the end of the game, and mind you, this is the second time in my life that I've actually gotten this far in. Well, actually, not even the third. I played it through on Game Boy a couple of times, but this is the second time I've played this on stream. And the first time I played this on stream was the first time I played it through it in a while, and the first time I actually played it off of an original cartridge to completion. Yeah, I think there's some. Yeah, these... Oh no! He took a hit. Oh, it's right before the final boss, too. You can't... He's shooting chickens at me. This is Bio Kinton, who no one's ever seen his true form according to the lore in the manual because he's so shy. So he hides inside this cloud. Oh no! We took a death. We did take a death after all. Alright, there we go. Alright. Now we can actually take an extra hit. I just got impatient, really, as the main reason This is probably harder than the actual final boss from what I remember. Oh no. Oh no, I took a death, another death, okay. Alright. This time we're not going to be so impatient. We're just going to... Oh no! Okay. Oh man, I keep letting myself get pinched up top. At least we know. We grab the mushroom here. It's very easy to get past. And then there's these little cartoon fists that come down. Yeah, this is the only boss in the game you are forced to... He's the only boss in the game you are forced to confront. Instead of... with no option to just press a switch. Oh man, that's the first time the chicken got me. Okay, 6. But with the life we're using now, that's a full 7, so we're still at a lucky number, if you count a certain way. I'm trying to find the spot where he spawns from. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we're on the final boss. Oh, well, the second to final boss. The penultimate boss. Okay. What do you think of Super Mario Land 3, which is a really different game? Oh, Wario Land. Super Mario Land 3 is a triumph of portable gameplay, a triumph of platforming gameplay. And it's a game I have very dear memories of. A game I need to re-add to my collection, because I actually foolishly sold it while I was trying to save up for a Game Boy Advance. A game I got most of the treasures on. It was one of the first games where I really went in and started exploring to find collectibles. I have particular memories of being at a pediatrician's office. I was sick and like I was dizzy and I had a fever, but I was playing Wario Land, and through the Mount Teapot. And yeah, so it's a game I could probably have. I mean, that's a game I actually beat back in the 90s, whereas this I never even beat. I mean, it helped a lot that you could actually save your game in Wario Land. But let's take on Tatanga. It was reduced to a mere boss in Super Mario Land 2. A normal boss, not a final boss. Yeah, it's a very, very, very simple... This is so... He doesn't even... This boss... All you have to do is avoid the projectiles and just keep shooting. You don't even have to try to target him. This is a more fierce final boss than Biokinton. Yeah, that was actually a much simpler final boss than yeah, it's a much simpler final boss than the final sub boss. Surawara says, "I have a great ability to tell stories that keep him interested from start to finish every time." Well, hey, I love telling stories. Like, I love video games, but it's the interest in sharing my experiences, my knowledge, and I don't consider myself an expert or anything, but I want to share that with other people, and that's what got me to start doing Twitch. If I was on my own, I wouldn't be playing games like this every day. I'd have fond memories of them. Once a year, I'd maybe turn them on, but it's the ability to put on a show like this and really go into the history of the game and everything. That's what really hypes me up to start adding these games to my collection, you know, to clean out, like, what do I have over here? I recently added another Game Boy game. I have Hyankyo Alien, which I added to my collection recently. I mentioned it on my last stream, which was a maze game that actually predates Pac-Man, that came out of Japan. This is one of the only American releases of it, one of the only home console releases for it. And it's a game that, when I was doing research on the history of video games back in the 90s, when there was so little information available before I had internet access, it's a game I would have loved to know and add to that story. And I was able to get the manual too, which is fantastic. So that's a game I'll be playing in the future in the same manner that you see right here. And this is not going to be the end of the stream. What we're doing next is once we're gonna give how adorable it was. How adorable, how nostalgic, how quaint to have a AAA game made with such a small team. THEEND. Thank you. That was the second time I ever beat the game, and so I have to put my brain power to it a bit more than with Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, if I press start, okay, I want to take a screenshot of my my high score there, and we'll compare that to. Oh, by the way, this is stream 230141177. But we'll compare that high score to. And someday, you know what? What I'd like to do in the future, I would like to play through this. Now, look at this. There are more Goombas. Oh, there's already a bomb turtle right there. Yeah, so this is a more challenging playthrough of the game. And I believe look, they're already, I think look, there's a bomb there. There's a lot more ferocious enemy placement. So, someday I'll come in and play through the, more difficult mode of that, but which isn't something that the Sonic does not have. It does not have an more advanced mode, but it does have the challenge to find the Chaos Emeralds. I believe the manual describes the second playthrough as an enemy-infested underworld. It makes it sound like Mario's going to hell or something. But let's take a look at some gaming media at the time had to say about this. Now, we're going to open up Nintendo Power, but first, let's look at Electronic Gaming Monthly. This is issue 3, display until September 31st, 1989. Now, if we roll down here... Oh, this character certainly looks healthy. New from McLean, Iron Sword, Game of the Month. The next generation of handheld gaming, Atari's Lynx. Yeah, so we'll get to see some of the emerging competition for Game Boy, as well as coverage of Super Mario Land. FCI, not just kid stuff. Yeah, Ultima. The first real role-playing game. You paddled past Pong. You packed up your Pac-Man. You mastered Mario Brothers. Now get ready for the ultimate challenge, Ultima. The popular PC role-playing game is now available for NES players who want to move on to a grown-up game. Put together your team of 4 characters and set on your quest to conquer the evil Exodus. Fight your way across treacherous terrain with your wits, weapons, and skills to save you from the dangers that lay in your path. It's role-playing fantasy at its best. Choose your team from a variety of fantasy characters. 5-year lithium battery saves of scores and play positions. Animated graphics and full sound effects to add to your excitement. Over 100 hours of game time. Now, it's funny because I think Ultima came out of the West on PC. But ultimately, it was this Japanese company, FCI, that brought it to the NES. Oh, you could order a hint book. Alright. Just scroll through here. If you see something of particular interest, well... Oh yeah, we've got Shooting Range, Monster Party, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I understand Monster Party to have been a genuinely good game and kind of a parody of different sort of universal monster characters and other sci-fi staples. We got it all. With the introduction of the new 16-bit game systems from NEC and Sega, as well as the black and white and Atari Color handhelds, many of you may be left wondering, with all these great new systems finally out, which do I choose? Which has the best software support? Which has the most to offer me? Oh, you love Monster Party. Yeah, I understand the actually kind of had to... Some of the original version of the game actually had... I guess some of the references were a little too close to copyright written and trademark stuff, so they had to sort of back it down on it a bit. Even though it was a parody, so I don't think they would have had too much problem. Did I ever play Muppet Monster Adventure? The only Muppet-related video game I ever or computer program I ever played was Muppets Write. It was a word processing program featuring the Muppets on the Apple II, and that I just thought that would be so cool, because I've been thinking of different ways I could do writing streams. What if I found Muppets Write, or the Muppets word processor for Apple II, and streamed that and did some writing, some proofreading, editing on stream? That might be a fun way to do a writing stream, because it's easy to do a drawing stream, or you just something visible to look at. It's a lot more obvious the appeal. Just starting to think, Serial Wars. Thank you for reminding me of that, because I have not thought about that Muppets word processor for Apple II in closing 25 or more years. I swear I'm not that old. I only have one gray hair, I swear. But of course, the fact that I've lived long enough to get that one gray hair, I'm more thrilled that I've beaten the odds and hazards of life in this crazy age to have gotten that gray hair. That gray hair, that's achievement unlocked. That's not something I'm bemoaning. That's something I'm celebrating. But yeah, that would be cool. But yeah, but basically what they're saying is all these different consoles and devices. One gray Tundex plays saying one gray hair. Imagine just having one. When I got it, I was like, oh, I got a little piece of lint in my hair. Oh wow! I was delighted. I was like, okay, all right, I'm making it. All right. Oh, look at this right here. Now we just beat Super Mario Land, Tundex. I don't know how long you've been lurking. We beat Sonic the Hedgehog, and we looked at magazine coverage of it, we looked at the commercials for it, then we played through Mario Land, we looked at commercials for it, now we're reading the magazines for it. Afterwards, I'm going to evaluate the two games, give my pros and cons for each of them, and we'll maybe determine a winner. But look at this here. Please, no more Nintendo. I must say, you people at EGM sure put out a top-notch mag. I would like to know, however, why it seems that EGM is shifting to more of a Nintendo magazine instead of more or less equal coverage of Sega, Nintendo, and other game systems. In my opinion, Nintendo has enough mags of its own on the market already, and I buy EGM because I know it covers all machines. Lastly, why is EGM starting to cover computer software? There are very few mags that cater to gamers, and even fewer that are worth talking about. Let the hackers buy their own mags and focus your energy on us. The few, the proud, the video gamers of America. Gee, Corporal U.S. Army. Gee whiz. Yeah, Azure Est. Yeah, congrats on the gray... No, I've had that gray hair for more than a year. But, so I'm glad I'm here to see it. Yeah, but... So this is interesting. There's this... Now it's not so severe, but there at the time, there was a long time where there was a really sharp divide if you were a video gamer or you were a computer gamer. And for a long time, it was actually the case that because home computer software was made really more geared towards office applications and doing more utility work, and not so much for displaying graphics. So when id Software published Commander Keen Trilogy through Apogee, the fact that they managed to get smooth scrolling working on PC-DOS systems, smooth side-scrolling gameplay to rival the NES, that was considered a huge breakthrough. Whereas nowadays, PCs are more on the cutting edge, and if you want the most advanced and sophisticated game experience, you get on PC and potentially get an experience that might not be seen on home consoles for a few years to come. Whereas back then, PC gamers were... there was a lot of emphasis on role-playing games, strategy games, those slower-paced games that didn't have the fast-moving graphics, and you were really paying for a high-end PC to have a real serious gaming home computer system. Whereas whereas home game consoles were they were tailored, even if they weren't necessarily as powerful as a PC. And Nintendo was saying the 90s were a crazy time for gaming wars because you have Nintendo versus Sega, and then Atari's kind of still in the picture, and then you've got PC versus console gaming overall. Then you got the handheld side of it. Wow, now here's a letter you won't find in Nintendo Power. Seriously, thanks bunches for the comments, Christian. It is ultimately the gamers who... It is you, the gamers, who ultimately make this mag. Without it, your valuable input, Electronic Gaming Monthly, just wouldn't be the same. You do make some interesting observations, and most of your plans for additional save coverage are coming true. Turn to the pages of this issue, and you'll find a dozen pages on Master System and Genesis systems, including reviews, previews, and even special game maps for Super Wonder Boy and Monster Land. Sure, you'll find more Nintendo info, but it's not because we favor one system over another. We love them all. It's just because the overfall of the volume of games and products released for the NES as compared to the Sega machines. We also love computer software, but beginning with this issue, we've decided to turn Electronic Gaming Monthly into a 100% video game magazine. That means you'll read even more about the latest developments and all the hottest systems. Don't worry, computer fans, because we've got some nifty surprises coming for you. Now look at this. Where'd PC Engine go? A couple of weeks ago on MTV, I saw them talking about the TurboGrafx 16 from NEC. I thought the NEC had the PC Engine. Can you clear this up? No, oh, look, we got an ad here. Look at the... Now, this is interesting. Look at this third-party joypad. This is very clearly based... Oh my gosh! This is very clearly based on the Famicom controller. And it even has a volume slider and a headphone jack in there. I wonder if that actually worked to let you listen to your NES games. You had this controller, huh? Did you ever use it with the headphone jack? Did you ever use this with the headphone jack? Yeah, this is very clearly, very specifically modeled after the Famicom controller. So we got Adventure Island, Bomberman. That's a game. I do want to play Bomberman, but I also want to play the Famicom. This is a game where I will be... this is one of the games where I'm going to bend and go ahead and probably play some form of emulated version of it, but I want to play the Famicom version of Lode Runner. Because in Japan, the Famicom version of Lode Runner is basically positioned as a prequel to Bomberman. So that's a very interesting... No, excuse me. In Japan, they positioned Lode Runner on Famicom as a sequel to Bomberman. So I really am interested in playing that, so let's scroll through a lot of these... Super Dodgeball. Rastan, Super Thunderblade, King's Quest. Yeah, I guess these are some of the last PC games they reviewed, because by the time I was reading EGM in like 94, 95, they definitely had no more PC coverage. But by that point, you look at what you had on the market like 94. You had Virtual Boy on the way. Sega CD, Sega Genesis, Master System still being supported residually. You got Game Boy, you still had NES being supported somewhat residually at that point, but like Kirby's Adventure came out in like 93. You've got the TurboGrafx 16. What else was on the market? The TurboGrafx CD, if you want to count that as a separate system. You have Game Gear, Game Boy, if I didn't mention that already. Then you have got Atari Jaguar. You've got the Amiga CD32. Like the market is flooded with systems, so they didn't have space to cover PC on top of all that. Now here's the juice. Here's what we're looking for. You've got Super Mario Land. Type action. Levels of play 12. Super Mario is back and he's got a new mission ahead. And this Game Boy rendition of the regular Super Mario Bros. Arcade game. That's interesting. They make it sound like the regular Super Mario Bros. Arcade game. Now, in the United States, because of the launch rollout of the NES, it was sometimes perceived that the NES version of Super Mario Bros. Was a port of the arcade game. It was actually the other way around. Because in some parts of the US, version of Super Mario Bros. Was in arcades before the NES was even being marketed. So this person might have thought that Super Mario Bros. Was originally the arcade game, and then they ported it to NES. That's interesting. Super Mario must rescue the Princess Daisy from a whole new cast of nasty characters that include exploding turtles, spear-throwing bees, stone faces, pogo men, upside-down killer plants, and more. It makes it sound like the users of this game were maybe utilizing some paraphernalia and substances while they came up with this. The way they word it here. I mean, this game, Super Mario Bros. Was sort of inspired by Alice in Wonderland, so... Don't worry, because help is on the way. Grab a mushroom to power up, a flower to fire, and a star to become invincible. And when you think it's all over, go to the bonus room and win up to 3 free Marios. Now here's Alleyway. Now Alleyway is a game that when modern sources, even those who revere retro games, talk about game history, they are generally not kind at all to Alleyway. I love Alleyway. I know it's not typical. It's a plain game. I don't mind a simple game. Like, beside Versus Pinball, Alleyway is one of my faves to just play, just zone out. It's a good just chatting game for me. Inspired by the classic Breakout and Arkanoid games, Game Boy gives us Alleyway, a whole new brick-bashing challenge that features a multitude of unique play mechanics, besides deflecting a lone block-busting ball, a ball of a wall of bricks. Besides deflecting a lone block-busting ball off a wall of bricks. They said of instead of off. And bonus screens that look just like characters from Super Mario Brothers. Okay. Got baseball. We got my voice. This is one of my longer streams, which is what the Saturday streams are going to be. These are going to be some of my longer streams. My next stream is going to be Tuesday. It's going to be a watch party. It's going to be not a watch party, a watch along. And so I look forward to hoping some of you can join me for that. But look at this. We've barely... Okay, right here, a cassette, video cassette on Nintendo-compatible games. Secret video game tricks, codes, and strategies. I think I have a game in the series that was on YouTube. I have to find it and save it. Not that I mean, it's been up there for years. It's not a problem, but yeah, I saw Volume 2. This is a cool videotape. And it's something we could definitely watch on stream in the future, because I'm going to be doing watch party or watch along stuff every two. Now, let's find interesting. Look at this. FCI again. FCI was up here with Ultima, and now further down, they've got hold on. We've got Hide. So FCI is pretty interested in bringing over. Used to go back and watch the old YouTube content. Yeah, well, we're definitely going to be watching that down the line, but I've got my first couple months of video of what I plan to watch on Tuesdays lined up. But I'm coming up on Tuesday. I won't be able to save the VOD, but it's definitely something we can watch on Twitch. Yeah, FCI was very interested in bringing role-playing games out to the NES. So we'll scroll through here. I have to save my voice for the next magazine. Yeah, I wanna... Yeah. Oh, look, there's the Turbo Graphics. And just scroll through here, look a bit. What is this? 16-bit system preview. The first 16-bit game developed outside of Japan, the Konix multi-system captures true 16-bit gaming in a package that's unconventional yet powerful. Get the full story of this exciting machine and its future here in the U.S. Yeah, oh yeah, I remember this. Okay, this never came to market. This was a big flop. This was the Intellivision Amico of its day. Yeah, you got a bunch of accessories and stuff like that. Now, one thing about these old EGMs, there is absolutely no delineation between sponsored advertising and actual original content. So they will write about a product. Yeah, they definitely did not have any motivation from the Securities Exchange Commission or anything like that, I guess, to make a clear delineation between their actual, like, neutral content and their paid advertisements. Now, this is interesting. Look at this. So, this is a Sega Genesis, but the branding on there, this is clearly a Mega Drive with the branding. This is a Genesis with the branding of a. Yeah, this is basically a Genesis branded Mega Drive, because the Mega Drive in Europe, South America, Japan had the 16-bit emblem on there was like embossed. It was like raised lettering. Whereas in the North America, what they did was they sort of just printed it on and wrote it on there, like how they wrote the logo. But this has the North American Sega Genesis branding with the 16-bit emblem. But I gotta save my voice for the next magazine, so let's hop over to Nintendo Power. So Tetris, get Tetrisized. Don't miss RoboCop, Willow, and Iron Sword. So the last magazine, the EGM, was also covering Iron Sword, so you know these were very close and closely released to one another. We're probably going to stick to the Super... I say that, but there's going to be so much interesting stuff to see in this magazine, honestly. Oh, look, and here... yeah, this 1-800-255-3700 tech support number there. That number is still active. That is still Nintendo's tech support number. Oh dear. Cleaning it up with the cleaning kit. Dear Nintendo, can you tell me why the power light sometimes flashes on and off on my control? Yeah, I made a very unfortunate typo there. Or rather, the Nintendo Power editors made a very unfortunate typo there that I'm shocked that they did not catch that. Alright. Video spotlight. Alright. Yeah, I do want to come in and properly read through here, but I want to focus on the Nintendo Power, on the Game Boy coverage. Now we'll casually scroll through here. We won't speed through, but anything really interesting. But we'll come back. The Game Boy Blockbuster makes its NES debut. They didn't come out at the same time? They didn't come out at the same time? Already hit on Game Boy? I thought they came out at the same time. And honestly, I never played the Tengen version of this, but I know, like, the Game Boy version just has the iconic music. Howard's tips for advanced players. Yeah, there's Howard Phillips with his iconic bow tie. Our Nintendo resident Tetris master, Howard Phillips, has developed a few tips for survival for practice players. Alright, and I don't want to sound uninterested, because I'm not, but I want to save my voice for the more on-topic elements of this magazine, which is going to be the Game Boy, the NES cover, the Super Mario Land coverage. This, no, I didn't have this game. I had Bigfoot. I had Bigfoot on NES. I didn't have this game though. This is more like RC Pro-Am. Here's Iron Sword. Yeah, look at all this. We're already a quarter way through the magazine. This magazine was really packed with material. Yeah, I never played Iron Sword. I remember seeing the commercial for it. You have that truck? The RC version or the real version, or like the real version? Because that's... Oh wait. Oh look, they're showing off the endings of different games. Yeah, back when you had to... Alright. Yeah, Metroid. Okay, here's an iconic moment. Femme Fatale finds cure for the evil Mother Brain's headaches. You have the Toyota? Oh, awesome. Because I know you're into, like, automotive stuff. And you could tell me more about it than I could tell you, that's for sure. But Metroid, Femme Fatale finds cure for the evil Mother Brain's headaches. Holy smoke. Samus Aran, mighty galactic warrior, is revealed to be a woman when she reveals her cumbersome space armor after defeating the Mother Brain. Galactic Boy redeemed posture check? Looks like I'm good. Looks like I was on point. I'm gonna have to find something else I do. Something else. Because at least when I'm streaming, I have good posture. I'm always... Now, when I'm sitting around working on stream, sometimes I just start sinking back, and I'm looking like this, still working on stuff. I'm just saying, like, wait, why am I laying back like this? This is ridiculous. Whenever I'm actually live, I have good posture. Yeah, cumbersome space armor. I mean, she's pretty agile in that armor. But, so we have RoboCop, strategy guides here. And this was back when it was just as important for game magazines to have strategy guides, not just news and reviews, news on upcoming games, reviews of newly released games, but also strategy guides and tips on how to play the games. Oh, Power Glove, U-Force, all these wacky control methods. Now, look at this. For some reason, I gotta say, whenever I see 8-bit renditions of the old Wheel of Fortune stage, I feel nostalgic for the DOS version of Wheel of Fortune that my grandmother had on her Packard Bell DOS system. And the DOS version of Wheel of Fortune, that's something we're going to have to play on stream someday. I mean, Wheel of Fortune is ultimately just Hangman, Jeopardy Jr., Three Stooges. Okay, where's the Mario Land coverage? Because my voice isn't going to hold out much longer. Ah, here we go. Yeah, we'll line it up. Golf, tennis, Super Mario Land, Revenge of the Gator. That's a game I want to add to my collection very soon. And very soon I want to add Revenge of the Gator to my collection. Castlevania The Adventure, Motocross Maniacs, Baseball, and more. Game Boy. Super Mario Land. Game Boy exclusive, Mario sets out on a new adventure. A big selection of Game Boy games have been announced for release in the near future. Leading the packs is the latest adventure for the greatest video game character ever, Mario. Help Mario make tracks over land, sea, and air with some hot new gadgets in a mad world. It's Super Mario Land. Hey, I'll see you, Adelheid von Amberg. Thanks for joining me. I can't express enough my appreciation for you showing up for the stream. And my final verdict on which game's better, I'll mention it if you're up in stream. I'll just tell you, but it's going to be a hard one because these are Sonic versus Mario. These are Super Mario Land versus Sonic the Hedgehog. Two of my favorite games of all time. I mean, Super Mario Land isn't my favorite version of Mario, but Sonic the Hedgehog's my favorite version of Sonic. But we'll get into that later. Yeah, so we've just got a map. We got some maps here. Yeah, so it shows how the upper screen. I wonder what it took. Look at how. I don't know. I wonder if they used the wide boy by intelligence. I don't know by what means they managed to make these maps. Because Electronic Gaming Monthly, they were very clearly taking photos off the Game Boy screen. Whereas here they were able to merge the maps into a contiguous image. World 1, 2. Yeah. World 1, 3, the Ancient Egyptian stage. Ancient Egyptian tomb. Now, Revenge of the Gator. This is a game I want to play. We'll scroll through to the rest of this because, I mean, when we play Revenge of the Gator, we're probably going to open this back up. Baseball Alleyway. That's new from Nintendo. Breakaway blocks and send your high score in a new variation of a and breakaway blocks and send your score sky high. Like send your high score where? Now here's something interesting. Saga. Coming up new for Game Boy. Saga, the first role-playing game for Game Boy from Square, is sure to please fans of games like Dragon Warrior. Discover lost treasure, build experience, and find weapons to go after evil forces. A town in the distance holds many memories. Rest it in for energy. Now Saga is its Japanese name. It was released in North America as Final Fantasy Legend. And I played that game, and I have that game, and I actually have it for Nintendo Switch. I don't know if I'll be playing the Switch version. If the Switch version has any sort of special feat, I'll probably end up playing the handheld version, the actual cartridge version. Shield Wars is saying the world would be a better place if Supertrain was the president. Yeah, they can't pay me enough to deal with all that nonsense of running the world. Now, if I could rewrite the universe from its foundations, well, first off, I wouldn't be clever enough to do all that. But I'd definitely make shape-shifting superpowers be a thing. At least for certain people. Not everyone can do that, because a lot of people can use that for evil, but I would definitely make shape-shifting and transformation a thing that exists for human beings. I would definitely do that. But as far as ruling the universe, I would do. But ruling Earth, ruling a country, yeah, I didn't even feel like running my my college's poetry and literary club back in college. I sort of got cornered into having to do that for a couple of semesters. But Yeah, so they listed here as Saga, and they mentioned for fans of games like Dragon Warrior, but Dragon Warrior is by Square's competitor at the time, Enix, whereas they could have mentioned Final Fantasy, which I believe was out in North America by 1989 when this magazine would have been on store shelves. Hyper Load Runner. That's interesting. I didn't realize there was a Game Boy version of Load Runner. Yeah, that's interesting. But I'm interested in reviewing and playing the Famicom version of Load Runner, which was basically made as a sequel to Bomberman, or positioned as a tie-in with Bomberman. A Boy and His Blob. I know this is kind of a puzzle-based game, but you do have a beast in the form of a blob that can shapeshift, and it's kind of a logic puzzle game, so I don't want to read too much into that. Where's the Black Onyx? Oh, look, we have some gameplay counselors. Oh man, look at these dudes. This guy looks like a younger Jim Carrey. Shh. All right, let's. Yeah, my throat is even staying routinely hydrated. I'm really pushing the limits of my voice and my streaming stamina. But Saturdays I want to beat for streams, up to 4 hours, no more than 5. At 5 I'd just cut the stream off and be like, bye everybody. We're gonna have to wind things down. But there's a lot of cool Nintendo World Championships. Oh yeah, and the Wizard. The tie-in. Yeah, business. Yeah, the business mullet. Yeah, Azurus knows what's going on. Yeah, I was around at this point, but I was concerned with wasn't concerned with hairdos at that time. And there's all the EGMs that were. I mean, all the Nintendo Powers are already out at this point. All right, I think it's a good time to not wrap things up. It's time to weigh the two. Where's my cartridges? I've got. Okay, here's Super Mario Land. Where's Sonic? I put it down. I didn't take it anywhere. It's sitting on my computer. My writing computer. That's a desktop. So, hold them up in the order they came out. So Super Mario Land came out first. Super Mario and Sonic the Hedgehog. So Ross, great stream today. This is an awesome one. I remember this for a long time. Now I'm gonna quickly weigh the pros and cons. Okay, order they came out. Oh, okay. Well, the order I played them. I'll talk about the way I play. Okay, Sonic the Hedgehog. Full color graphics, fantastic representation, adaptation of the Genesis game, while not being a mere port of the Genesis game, playing to the system's weaknesses, reworking things, eliminating Marble Zone, eliminating Starlight Zone, in order to make unique games like Jungle and Bridge Zone, which, while not from the Genesis game, are very, especially the Jungle Zone, very well suited to the themes of Sonic the Hedgehog. Good opposition to the factories of Scrap Brain Zone. You have a jungle and some forests and stuff like that. This was strong in that it's able to. You have the quest for the Chaos Emeralds to be able to explore the stages a bit. Graphics fantastic, music fantastic, and yeah, the replay value in the terms of going for your max special bonus, getting the Chaos Emeralds. This game definitely has a much better ending than Super Mario Land. Is it okay to redeem Thomas now? It would have been more of an ideal a bit maybe during the gameplay sections, but hey, okay, I'm gonna declare a winner. You go ahead and redeem Thomas if you want, and I'm gonna go ahead and finish my assessment of the two games. We'll watch a pair of Thomas episodes, and we'll call it a stream. How about that? But yeah, this is the Hidden Chaos Emeralds gives you a lot of replay value. The ending for this is definitely better than Super Mario Land. Super Mario Land, it's a pretty much expected ending, but it's more of a variation of the end of every other world of the 4 worlds in that get in Super Mario Land. It's more of a variation where Mario and Daisy hop into the plane and fly off. The replay value with this comes in the form of an entire second, harder, like New Game Plus, where you can play through the stages you played through before with more enemies. So it's a bit more, like this has replay value in the form of being able to go find the Chaos Emeralds. This has replay value in the form of going ahead and being able to replay the game with more enemies. The graphics are definitely better in Sonic the Hedgehog. The music is definitely better in Sonic the Hedgehog. But the music in... you can compare the game's music soundtracks against each other, or you can compare them in terms of what's possible on the system. This excels well in both. This definitely has Yuzo Koshiro's rearrangements of the Genesis tracks as well as his original tracks are fantastic. This Super Mario Land, it's classic. It's distinctive. It's nostalgic to listen to it now. At the time, comparing these head-to-head, I'd say Sonic definitely blows away Super Mario Land, but they both sound good in their own right. Now, in terms of what's possible on the system, Super Mario Land, it's kind of this weird half-step, well, mostly on the side of, it's kind of, this graphics are so simple, it's almost a bit like a more sophisticated LCD Game & Watch type thing, almost more, it's like a halfway between Game & Watch and NES. Whereas when you got to Super Mario Land 2, definitely taking better advantage of the system, more sophisticated compositions for the music, better graphics, more detailed characters. But this, for what this was when it came out, there was nothing like this before. This was the moon landing in terms of what was possible for handheld gaming. Between the two of them, now, in terms of fairness, not difficulty, but fairness, I don't know. There's a lot more funny business in Super Mario Land than in Sonic the Hedgehog. A little more biting, a little more ferocious, a little more unfair, a little more mischievous with some of the trap placement in here than with here. Now, in terms of exploration of levels, Sonic definitely has superior exploration of levels, especially when you get into Labyrinth Zone, Scrap Brain Zone, more complex level layouts, actual puzzles, mazes to solve. Boss fights, on one hand, Mario Land has many different boss fights, more different characters. King Totomesu in Birabuda Kingdom, the first world, and Dragon Zamazu in Easton. I forgot the name of the third boss, but the final boss of you have Totanga and Biokinton. Whereas in Sonic, you have the boss fights, I think maybe the arenas, it's a bit more of a challenge, finding the safe spots, learning their patterns. Whereas Mario Land, it's more of sort of a rush to either you have a Fire Flower or the Super Ball Flower in this version and can whittle away at them, or you just have to try to whittle through and get to the switch. The boss fights, Sonic, you actually have to fight the bosses. Here, it's more of either get there with a Super Ball or rush through and get the switch before you get taken out. And charge through with if you have the Super Ball, if you have a Super Mushroom and take the hit, just so you can hit the switch and end the stage. Definitely better bosses in Sonic the Hedgehog. As for storyline, lore, plot, it's both of these games involve the Totanga hypnotizes everyone, and then in Sonic the Hedgehog, Robotnik is transforming all the animals into robots and enslaving them that way. I don't know. I think the way it's just a little stronger here. You don't really see... the lore is mostly restricted to the manuals for both games, so I'm not going to place too much emphasis on the storylines, but the plot for Sonic the Hedgehog got me fascinated in the characters. I wanted to learn more about Sonic's friends. I wanted to learn about the world. I wanted to learn more about Robotnik. I wanted to see how he actually transforms the animals into robots, and the Saturday morning cartoon did that. The lore of this game jogged my imagination and got me to where I am today. The lore of this game, it didn't really do much for me. I just cared more about the game itself. Which is a better portable game? Which is a better game to flip on and just start playing? I'd say they're about equal in that regard. They're both maybe a bit shorter. Could be than their home console equivalents. both games, neither of these have a save function. If one had a save function, the other didn't, that would definitely be a win. But as far as the save functions, I don't know. Like, there's no save function. They both turn on good. You both start playing immediately. I'd say they're both equal in terms of portable friendliness. Now, Sonic the Hedgehog, you'd actually play in the back seat of your car of your parents' car late at night. You could, hide it play it under the covers. I never did that. I was a good little boy. But Sonic the Hedgehog, you'd only play for so long because the Game Gear did eat through batteries. Whereas Game Boy, the gameplay powered on. You just, had to be in direct sunlight or have a good lamp on a desk. I don't want to place the strengths and weaknesses of the consoles themselves too much, but I would say in relation to what their respective systems are capable of, not against each other, but in terms of what Game Boy is capable of, what Game Gear is capable of, I would say Game Gear and Sonic the Hedgehog took better advantage of Game Gear than Super Mario Land did for Game Boy. Now, Game Boy was a trailblazing game on the system, whereas with Sonic the Hedgehog on Game Gear had already been out for a while when this had come out. But in terms of what's possible on its respective systems, I would say Sonic probably comes out on top in terms of that. My favorite, I mean, I've only had access to playing Super Mario Land for about a year, but every few months I'll go back to Sonic the Hedgehog. My favorite, these games are both so important to gaming. I don't want to say one wins, the other's a loser, but I have to go with my personal favorite. My personal favorite's gotta be Sonic the Hedgehog, and I love Super Mario Land. Playing Super Mario Land for the first time was one of the top three. Playing Sonic for the first time, playing Super Mario Land for the first time, playing Super Mario 64 for the first time, and playing Pokemon for the first time. Those are my 4 top gaming treasure moments where I rediscovered and loved to learn gaming. But my favorite's gotta be Sonic. If I could only play one game on stream forever, it would have to be Sonic. These games deserve all the credit for progressing handheld gaming, for progressing their host companies, their host consoles, and I am so glad that both of these games can live together in official releases on Nintendo 3DS. Look, if you have a 3DS and don't have these games and want to play them, look online. You have to jump through hoops to get money on the 3DS Virtual Console now, but you only have a couple of months before the service shuts down forever. So that's my verdict on Super Mario Land and Sonic the Hedgehog. Both fantastic and almost invaluable games. If either one of these did not exist, my life and the gaming world would be and the gaming landscape would be so different. Yeah, so that's going to do it for this stream. I'll be back on next week. Next week is going to be, we're going to start with, it says Saturday the 17th. No, that is Tuesday the 17th. I often forget to change the day of the week. But it's going to be Tuesday. All I'll say is on this coming Saturday, on Tuesday, and it's going to be Watch Along Tuesday. But on Saturday, my next long-form gameplay stream, about 4 hours of gameplay. More like 4 hours and 30 minutes, more like today, actually. But I'm going to be playing Super Mario Brothers. Zero Raw says, hope I enjoyed the stream as much as he did. I hope you enjoyed it more than I did, but this is a top 10 stream for me, and having done, closing in on 200 of these, this is definitely one of my top 10s. This is one I was very proud of. Now, I'll go look back at the VOD and nitpick things, but as far as my being on camera and performing it and doing it, I was definitely had a blast. So, I will see you all next time, and thank you for watching.